Hello, I'm some jerk on the internet, and have I got a stream for you today? Because I'm in a little bit of a situation and we need to have a little bit of a fundraiser, I thought it would be oddly appropriate if we just went on and took a look at a creation science evangelism classic. That video being Redeeming the Straw Man. Laura says she can't hear me. That's weird. And y'all should be able to hear me. Everything good? Am I being cursed by the Hovind? Let me know in the chat. Um. Anyway, yes, this is a. There you are. Okay, this is a stream. Yep. All right. Love the tech gremlins. We'll do it live. All right. So, in the event I didn't come through clear originally, I thought it was though. We are going to take a look at a CSE classic, Redeeming the Straw Man, which is the pinnacle of Kent Hovind's soft-sit bullshit. Kent will, of course, deny this, as many sovereign citizens do, but Kent Hovind is most definitely a sovereign citizen, and it bit him in the ass back in 2006, 2007, when he was convicted of tax fraud. So yeah, that was lovely. And open up some soda. We're gonna need it for this. It's an hour-long video. And I should stress that in a previous stream we looked at the primary complaint against Hovind and the list of all the list of crimes, basically each transaction that was structured combined with other stuff. Phone was being stupid, damn work Wi-Fi. Gotcha. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun with this. As I mentioned, this is a bit of a fundraiser. I've got that's the wrong link. Let me post the right thing. Let everybody get in and share those couple of links. As I said, this is a fundraiser. All I need is in total 65 to cover something today. That's it. It's nothing crazy. This isn't some I need 3,000 or I'm, on the streets kind of situation, which I have that kind of stuff happen to friends of us in the community, or we in the community have had that happen. So I am in a very good spot, but I need a little help right now, like a little help sooner than later. So that's why this is a fundraiser. And again, I thought it would be appropriate to do Hovind's tax craziness when I'm trying to earn a quick 65 bucks. In whatever case, y'all are awesome. And yeah, Kent is on record saying he hadn't filed a tax return in 28 years. I've never filed a tax return. If there's a law telling me I need to file one, let me see it. I mean, you're supposed to file the tax records regardless of what happens one way or the other, Needless to tonight, in the middle of writing an IEP in English. Wow. Well, happy to have you here, old boats. And yeah, everyone, Roman Reigns is from Pensacola. Interesting. Very interesting. Coincidence? I think not. But all right. Enough preamble. We've got about 4 minutes in. I'm sure a lot of people are going to complain about the little preamble, but whatever. I think this is the best audio we're going to get. I think the volume level is, it may be a little low, but I'll do a little bit of boosting on the other side. We're going to press play and get right into it. And the bullshit starts pretty much from the get-go.
Well, thank you for joining us. This is kind of an informal discussion on...
Oh, yeah, it is going to be a very informal discussion. And yeah, the levels are all right, so I think we're good here. And this is the one where the audio is actually mixed in the center. The other copy I found, the audio was slammed to the left. And I get so tired of that. Just make it mono, for fuck's sake. It's a VHS rip. It doesn't need to be in fucking quadraphonic stereo.
Redeeming the Straw Man. My name is Kent Hovind. With me is John D'Arcy from South Florida. Thank you, John. Nice of you to drive all the way up to visit us here in Pensacola. America's in trouble.
Pensacola, the whole center of the fucking universe is Pensacola.
We have a lot of people confused about what's going on. This will be kind of an informal discussion about it ties on a variety of topics, but where are our rights? Our founding fathers said...
We're 30 seconds in, and the straight up bullshit is about to happen.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights.
That right there. We've heard him say that somewhat recently in a stream. I can't recall where because I watch way too much Hovind. 37 seconds into the video, though, he already done fucked up. You all heard it. He said unalienable instead of alienable. This is a tactic with charlatans like this, but it's especially common with sovsits to try to reinterpret what words actually mean. And because there's the concept of the lien, L-I-E-N, hold or bind filed against something, take a lien out on the house, where you kind of own it but don't, until, shit's paid off or something. I forget the exact details, and the legalese of it is really irrelevant here. It's just the concept of binding something. Sovsits love to throw that out there, and they'll be like, "I put a lien on your car." There's like an arresting officer if you don't pay $500 for like every 10 minutes I am here or something, like stupid shit, because they think that's how anything actually works, by letting some weirdo give them a fucked up interpretation on what things actually should be. And so they'll do those kinds of word games. Let's say police or policy enforcement. It's like, no, that's not where the word comes from. I don't believe. And even if it was, what the hell would it matter? They think this is the biggest one, that understand means literally to stand under something. And if you're asked, do you understand? It's, instead of asking, do you comprehend? It's the like the arresting officer or whatever asking, do you submit to these laws? Like crazy shit like that. So that's why you'll see Sovsit saying, I do not understand. And then shit like this, instead of saying unalienable, these rights cannot be alienated from you, made for and to you, he wants to make it alienable, can't put a lien on it, which he's about to say once I press play.
Rights that you just can't put a lien against.
See? Literally right there, it's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh, right. You're Kent Hovind. You're a sovsit lying piece of shit who you put stuff like this out, or at least did put stuff like this out, as actual material intended to educate people on how the world is supposed to work. Your theological curriculum, your anti-science bullshit included something that's just one step above flat earther sovereign citizen garbage. But you're so stupid, or you learned early on not to acknowledge it, that you won't even admit you're a sovereign citizen. But it's the entire playbook. Walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, Hovind.
And what we want to try to do is just explain where we lost it and how to get it back. Just try to keep it simple so folks like me can...
And Boats, thank you for the super chat. The problem is I will not see super chat money until January 21st, which is actually a dark day in Yamato history. So that's why I got these extra links that I'll share again here in a minute. Those go more directly to me and can resolve the problem tonight. But I am in no way downplaying your donation. It will help at the time it comes in. It will definitely help. So it is greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. Let's see. We got anything else going on? Bad weekend. Neighbors having a loud party. Politely complained after 8 hours. They called the cops on you for some reason. Wow. I watch way too much Hovind. Any Hovind is way too much. Good point. Yep, it is a nice donation. That's not what the word means. Thomas Jefferson would hate Hovind so much. Oh, yeah. Everyone who founded this nation would absolutely hate Hovind. Guy who did his own edit to the Bible to remove the supernatural BS would hate the guy trying to force Bible literalism on people. Yeah, exactly. I need to get a copy of that. And Boats, you're fine. You're fine, buddy. You're fine. I don't think my $65 goal is at all unreachable. Yeah. Let's continue though. And yes, I will pay taxes. I can't wait to file my taxes. I get excited for that. Because unlike these kinds of fuckers, I am in the bracket where I get a refund. Not to say that if you're one of my followers and you make enough money where you don't get a refund and where you may actually owe, or your life situation is of that you're a bad person. By no means am I saying that. But bad people will oftentimes also fall into the bracket of owing taxes, at least back when the government actually taxed the rich, because they make too much damn money. Yeah, it's funny. Being evil is what gets you ahead in life.
Understand it. Basically, God created the universe. We've got a little chart here behind me that kind of explains God created people. This would be Kent Hovind, John D'Arcy, John Doe, etc., etc.
So, Kent, you're acknowledging that God made Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler and all these other people, the Cambodian guy, as you said yesterday. So, God made all them too?
We, the people, got together 200 years ago and created a state government. All of those states got together and created a federal government.
And the states kind of formed from the colonial structure, the subdivisions that Britain had and other nations had going on in the United States. They were reasonably worth keeping around as standards, and they were what the people were familiar with, having been, at this point, second generation born here, easy. So it kind of continued, but this idea, I mean, this is a whole thing with the founding of the United States, the idea of states' rights versus federal rights, da 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 da. And I am far more a federalist on things because the U.S. really is like 50 small countries together. It's kind of crazy. For some reason, these people who just want to be able to do whatever the hell they want are always states' rights activists. And they're going to say some crazy shit here in a second. So just, if you hadn't heard it before, just note where you were when you heard Hovind and his and little Darcy here say whatever the hell they're about to say next.
And the federal government is supposed to be the servant to the state government. States are supposed to be supreme.
Not really. No, we already went through that. The Articles of Confederation kind of didn't quite get accepted. And so the government structure that we do have goes, yeah, there's the idea of the federal government not getting involved where it doesn't need to, but then comes the responsibility of the federal government to get involved where it needs to, such as federal minimum wage and the like, which shouldn't have to be a thing, just like child labor laws. But the fact that child labor laws and the fact that minimum wage laws exist shows that if given the chance, companies will hire children, make children do. We already knew they would. Will make children do work. Will make and will pay absolutely nothing for whatever the hell work they put them to. They don't care. It's that sick hyper capitalist bullshit of you don't work, you don't eat. Oh, you gotta work. You don't have time to grow up. You don't have time to go to school. You gotta work in the coal mines. I'll give you a shiny nickel for bringing out 15 tons of coal. Yeah. And then the baron gets richer and richer. It's like, that kind of shit was going on, and one country kind of said, fuck it. That was Russia. Did pretty well for him for a while. Then some problems happened, but that was due to imperialist meddling. But what do I know? It's not like I'm some 20th century history nerd. Still smarter than Hovind.
States' rights, which goes into a long story of the wrong side winning the Civil War, right?
Exactly. And there you go right there. Wrong side winning the Civil War. But watch how quickly they backtrack in this. Watch how quickly they shift things around. Because they know what they just said.
What was the Civil War?
What was the Civil War? It's Abe Lincoln's war. It wasn't the Civil War.
That's right. It wasn't slavery.
It wasn't slavery.
It wasn't the Civil War. It was Abe Lincoln's war. It wasn't slaves. Does anyone recall who shot first? Was it Han or Greedo in this case? Han's the only one who shot. Was it the South or the North that made the first strike? I think it was the South attacking the North. A declaration of secession, and then an actual active attack. I could be mistaken, but then again, by definition, seceding from the country is kind of treasonous to a country. And if the parent country doesn't like it, it only makes sense that they'd go to things. And obviously, they fucking lost, as I said here, in land that was once the Confederate capital for a short time, if memory serves. A very short time, but still. Yeah, God, brain just went like, wait a minute, I'm in a place where, Civil War history happened and it's probably just been bulldozed over. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's just a funny thought that, after, they were around for their 4 or 5 years of doing their shit and then got rolled back into the United States, that people like this are still going to sit there and basically do everything they can to say, I'm not an American citizen, but I want all the benefits of being American. That's what the soft sit movement boils down to. It's crazy.
Slavery, no. And then the federal government created a corporate federal government. Notice it's all capital letters.
And then it gets right into more of the sovereign citizen garbage. The capital letter bullshit, the corporate fiction, I am the living man, all that shit.
The corporate federal government created a corporate state government. And one of these two, somewhere in here, created persons with all capital letters. This would be Kent Hovind with all capital letters. This is not me. Which leaves us with an interesting situation.
Yes, it is, Kent. There is no corporate fiction, buddy. It's not how this works.
Since whatever God creates, he controls, and we're supposed to be subservient to God, whatever we
Fuck your God. How about that one?
create, we control, and the states, the federal and state government are supposed to be subservient to we the people. They're supposed to be our servants. But whatever the government creates, it controls. So the government has created persons, actually a corporate soul, for every individual being in the United States. There's a corporate Kent Hovind and a corporate John D'Arcy. And they can pass all sorts of rules and regulations for their corporation, which...
It's just not how any of this works. It's not what's going on. And that's not how any of this works. Just not, Kent. I want to go down examples, but then I'll just be rambling for 5 hours. And as much as my audience loves that, I'd like to go through this entire video, this stream, if we can. Make it a nice, complete fundraiser. People get their money's worth.
They own and control and regulate, etc. Now, they're using my name, though. They created a corporation and chose my name to go on there and chose your name to go on one and everybody else's name to go on one. So they've kind of abused their privilege and stepped out of their delegated authority and used my name. So that leaves me with 4 choices to...
So, but Kent, what value does, quote-unquote, your name have? You haven't explained how that has value. And how someone copying it just by default gives them power. I'm sure you're going to try to explain it, but I don't think you're ever going to, because I've never been able to get a good explanation out of Sausage from that. By that, I mean, it's not like I've asked any. It's a matter of trying to interpret their legalese bullshit, their pseudo-legalese.
To take. Number 1, I can do what they say, which is what most Americans do. The state government can tell their person, you must wear a seatbelt when you drive your car. They can tell this person, you must file an income tax form. You must get a Social Security number. You must get a driver's license. You must get a birth certificate, etc., etc. And they have the right to tell that to this person. So I can either say, okay, I'll do what you say. I can bring myself from here all the way down and submit myself under these corporations. Or I can try to cut the string between this we the people and the artificial we the people. I can try to cut that string, and some people do
by not paying my taxes.
that with varying degrees of success. Number 3, I can look for loopholes in the laws and say, well, wait a minute, this law doesn't require that I do this. And some people with varying degrees of success look for loopholes and say, wait a minute, the state does not require persons to file a tax form unless they are a drug dealer from the Virgin Islands or live in Washington, D.C. or use a zip code and all sorts of...
See, just like, it's pure crazy. Every soft sit is like this, with varying add-ons. It's wild.
Different arguments have been used, and some not too successful. Choice number 4 is claim this guy. Say, hey, you're using my name. That's mine. I want it. That's what I want John to explain to us today. How do we redeem that straw man? And what does that mean, redeeming that straw man and moving him, or claiming him as your own? John, tell us about that.
Well, redemption is basically very biblically grounded.
Oh, yes, right.
And it is the soul of the Christian's belief that we ultimately, our souls are redeemed through Jesus Christ. and all we have to do is accept his finished work on the cross, and we are eternally redeemed, and Christ then protects and holds our soul for all eternity.
Oh, there's the Jesus talk. We couldn't go too far without the Jesus talk.
So it's very biblically based, and it's funny that no matter how corrupt things seem to be getting, government seems to follow God's law. You ever wonder why every 7 years you can file a bankruptcy and not 12? Or
why 7? Just, sure. Yeah.
You know, the Bible talks about things like that. And
you know, I don't know the context behind that. Also, if you're filing bankruptcy every chance you get, that's pretty fucked up. I am literally in need of this fundraiser because I'm paying off my debts like a goddamn champ. Not taking the, for many, it would be the easier way out. Sometimes it's unavoidable. In this case, I chose the, what I thought was the morally correct action for myself. Plus, less headaches, in theory. Like my financials are Hovind's business or anybody's, but, you know, just gotta stress that I actually pay what I owe. But, the whole bankruptcy thing might well be inspired by that. Or it could be pure coincidence. I don't know the details, and I'm not about to look into it because I don't care.
in your Jubilee and things like that. And there's another principle about giving your fellow man notice and grace. In a lot
You know, I think he is rocking a mullet. I was about to say no, but when he turned his head.
of people might say, well, why?
Yeah, that man is rocking a mullet. We got Achy Breaky Darcy over here.
How can you call that just for a God to take a heathen in Africa who never saw the Bible and expect him to have knowledge of Jesus Christ? And Isaiah talks about how God has given everyone notice.
Then shall it be for a man to burn, for he will take thereof and warm himself. Yea, he kindleth it and breaketh bread. Yea.
We're going to have one of those Hovind slides in there. And look, Hovind can acknowledge Isaiah, which is the, if memory serves, the next book in the Bible that he decided he wasn't going to read, and instead he was going to go through Bible characters alphabetically.
He maketh a god, and worshipeth it. He maketh it a graven image, and falleth down thereto.
Yep, but it's okay when his soft-sit friend has it.
So we see one type of man that looks at God's nature, and
maybe the mullet gets a pass, you know, business in the front, party in the back.
Does not marvel at it, but he has rejected God's general revelation as opposed to object it. In stark contrast,
if I had to guess, Clinton era. So back when I was still in school.
contradiction with what David does.
Yeah, David looked at himself and said, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, in the book of Psalms, you know. And as a biology teacher, I would agree, you know, all you got to do is study anything about human anatomy or biology, and you'll say, man, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. One cell more complex than a space shuttle.
Amen.
Saying that shit for 30 fucking years.
Unbelievable, you know. The best thing man can build is, you know, God builds trillions and trillions of them, you know.
Yeah.
And a cell isn't more complex than a space shuttle. It's just not.
So we got the two type of people there,
Depending on how you define complexity.
and so man is not without excuse that God has testified to man. And if man accepts God's general revelation, then God is faithful and he will send him specific revelation, meaning the Bible and knowledge of Jesus Christ. So the heathen that's out in the middle of the jungles in Africa who does not have a Bible, he will be held accountable to the revelation and knowledge he has, meaning nature. So that is a very basic principle of law that we have to give notice and grace. And just as God gives us notice and grace, in the law, Would
Oh yeah, the Sovsit bullshit actually goes back to many, many decades. In fact, Otaku, the little thing I showed from the whole World Wide Web of the Internet, where I got that from, and the Jason Scott talk, the lawsuit dude filed against him circa 2001, 2005 range for his book being on archive.textfiles.com or whatever. Um, is that book, The Federal Zone, is from, like the mid 90s, and that's just one of many in a long string of sovereign citizen books that have been being published since, God, the 60s, I think. Possibly longer.
anybody be surprised to find out that there are very elements of notice and grace that are given? And that is a very, what I consider to be a biblical principle that is very prominent in this whole concept of redeeming your straw man. The other...
Wait a minute, so you're saying it's in God's economy or God's plan or God's character, give notice of what you expect.
That's right.
And what you want.
That's right.
And then the grace is a time period in which to accomplish this?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, that's a whole lot of meaningless bullshit. Thank you.
And the other concept that I see here is we've got a mirror, okay? And we have God, and He's perfect, He's holy, He's just. And the flip side to that would be Satan. And he is the exact opposite of what is holy and what is just.
I think you guys have it backwards. God's the evil one. Just so you know.
Right? He's evil. And God, only God can create real, tangible things. Paper,
sure,
and
matter,
wood,
time,
and,
right.
And so Satan cannot. So all he is left doing is counterfeiting.
Giving me the same vibe.
And he's a great counterfeiter. And that is the other principle that we find out here in the straw man, is that whatever God created, Satan's got his counterfeit to. And man turns around and man created.
It's not even a mullet. He's just has long hair. It's straight pulled back in a ponytail right there. I was thinking for a second that's what he had going on. Yeah, he's just straight up got ponytail, pulled back, pseudo rebel lawyer look going on. I was gonna say this guy is the walking, talking embodiment of the line. You know what I love about high school girls? I keep getting older; they stay the same age. Darcy right here. He's super creep vibes. Hovind is just regular evangelical creep vibes. This dude, yeah.
Real de jure government. The government turned around and created a fiction. And I like to think of the state, in fact, when we start talking about government, when I mention the word state, I think of the state that is created in the womb, mankind. That is real government. And our founding fathers said, there is where the basis of all government, it's held within mankind, the executive, legislative, and judicial.
Even in Genesis chapter 10, after the flood, God told Noah, he established government. He said, whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed.
That's a great point.
You're right.
And we have...
Translation, kill them all, let God sort them out. Yeah. Great way for things to work, Kent. You body slammed your third wife, so you need to be body slammed.
We have our dispensational theology, and we have covenant theology. And a lot of times I meet people who want to throw away covenant theology and say we're under dispensational theology. And then other people that want to say there's no dispensations and they're all covenant theology. And the other point that I think is important is we can't sit here and say, well, we're under grace, let's throw law out. Because very clearly, law does apply in our life. If you don't believe so, go jump off a 10-story building. You'll find out how quickly law applies.
The law of gravity is applying.
Laws are descriptive, not prescriptive, morons. Also, many of the fundamental laws of science that show your mythology to be absolute garbage, you conveniently ignore for the very reason of they show your mythology to be garbage.
All constantly, right.
A circle has 360 degrees.
Whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
Right. Sure.
So, but law does not affect our justification. Okay? But
Okay, here's a Simpsons reference for you. If this dude wasn't such a square, he'd smell like Otto's jacket.
if we keep certain laws, we might live a lot longer and be healthier.
Right.
And Grunwaldi, comrade, thank you for the $10 super chat. Is this where Can't Get a Sauce It bullshit from? Well, this is him talking about it. This may or may not be the person who exposed him to it. That's a bit of an enigma. But this is probably one of the earliest, if not the earliest, example we can really find of something comprehensive on this. That a video that AJ has covered, and a few little clips here and there that I've seen.
Okay? And so we are.
And I should stress, as a reminder, on the fundraiser aspect, the links I just shared in chat will be the best way to get stuff directly to me to meet the $65 goal. Super chats are very welcome and appreciated, but those won't be in for me to do anything with until January 21st. So, yeah, sorry, I hate basically begging for money, but that's basically what this is. Like, please help. Please. Just stick donating $10 and one additional person donating $5 via the links provided will help keep me afloat. At least I'm honest, unlike Hovind. Hey, we need your money to help finish Noah's Ark. We spent it all already. Spend it all on Colombian hookers, but that's okay. God will forgive me.
Not justified by.
Since he's in a lawsuit mood, I should stress I'm not claiming Hovind actually spent money on Colombian hookers. It's just a joke.
Keeping that law. But that's why I say, although a lot of these concepts in the straw man are there in the law, Old Testament, they still apply because we have not ultimately become totally sanctified yet.
Mm-hmm.
Someday when we reach total sanctification, none of this will be relevant as opposed to the law, and we will.
Hey, what about the law of monophily? Huh? What about that, Kent? What about that? That fucks up your whole cows produce cows, dogs produce dogs thing. Where we just get more and more refined specimens.
Have new bodies, we won't be able to sin and things like that. So I guess that's the basis for redeeming the straw man.
Well, tell me, you mentioned an illustration that seems to make a lot of sense about McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us that about about McDonald's?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Okay, if we
Really
were to go out today and just start building a McDonald's franchise, but we never paid our license fees and we never told McDonald's about it. We just figured they got millions of stores, they'll never know. We could probably get away with that and keep going and sticking the money in our pocket. Now, most Christians I know would probably say, "Ooh, John, that's very unethical." All right, but as long as we didn't get caught, we could get away with it. Okay. In essence, that's what's happened to us. They have created a straw man, and they are using this entity. And as long as we don't show up to say, "Hey, you can't do that," they're going to go keep on using that.
except every time you clods go and try to claim this, you're told that's not how anything works, and usually get yourself about 30 days in the clink.
Okay, so since they created this and used your name,
That's right.
as long as you don't say anything, well,
They keep
they're
going.
going to keep using it, sure.
And it gets worse than that because we take ourselves out of a position where we are accountable to God, and we come on down and we say, we will become that person for you. And we take ourselves out of a position of being their master and put ourselves in a position.
Yeah, say no to non-Euclidean objects. You'll thank me later. You don't want to run into the elder gods. Yeah, call it McDowell's. That'll work. Very distinct. McDonald's.
Position of
Being the servant.
becoming the servant.
Have churches done the same thing by becoming incorporated?
That's a very interesting issue.
This will
Says the guy who a quarter of a century later runs a 501c3. Made sure to incorporate this time.
a 501c3 corporation. There's a U.S. Supreme Court case named Hale v. Tinkle. And in that court case, they basically stated that a corporation is a creature of the state.
okay.
All right? Let's follow this analogy through with an illustration. Let's take your phone number, for instance.
Okay.
Who owns that phone number?
Good question. I guess I have to pay every month for it, so the company owns it.
So
Yeah, because they're providing the service. That's how the phone company works. They maintain that equipment. That phone number, at a point in history, up until not too far ago, represented an exact location on physical mechanical switching equipment. Not only in the ESS days did it start to get abstracted,
phone company,
but even then, it's still technically an individual interface somewhere. But now, it's all wireless. It's all, digital packet switching. So it's all a matter of addressing, screaming out into the electromagnetic spectrum and individual phones being like, yeah, that one's for me, and vice versa.
basically,
Yeah.
if we stop meeting our contractual obligations, mainly paying our phone bill,
They'll take it away and give it to somebody else.
exactly,
Sure, right.
and you'll see how long that phone
Right.
number is yours.
30 days.
All right. So the same thing with a corporation. That corporation is a creature of the state. Okay. You have to apply to the state.
Says the people who fucking love capitalism. Y'all are fucking funny. Such inconsistent bullshit in your entire view of reality.
Okay. You fill out all these articles in the corporation, and it has to be follow the guidelines that the state sets. All right. Once they get these articles in corporation, and you pay a fee to the state, they will stamp that thing in, and you become a corporation. All right. But they've got some, just like that phone bill, they've got some guidelines you got to follow. Well, you got to file this tax return every year. You got to, file your minutes. You've got to pay a fee every year.
File your minutes. You talking about the church 501c3 thing?
To use that corporation. And if you don't pay your fee every year, you can't even defend a lawsuit that comes along.
Yeah. Hey, you're paying the fee for registration and validation of these things. Y'all need to be very clear on this stuff. I always draw the analogy with the license vehicle registration, i.e., tags. You have your license plate, and people would say they pay $110 for a sticker, and it's like, no, the sticker represents that you've paid a license fee. It's not a hard concept, but people don't think in anything except tangible goods, I guess, if you're slow-minded like this.
So, corporation is the creature of the state, and it does not exist as a matter of right. See, God never created corporation, but it is down in.
Joe, I need $65 in 2 hours, or the bank's gonna break my kneecaps. Like, I mean, that's an exaggeration at the end, but that's basically it. I need $65 in 2 hours. So if anyone can help, that'd be through these links. That'd be killer.
In this world existing as an entity of privilege, and who ultimately owns that corporation? Well, the state.
Whoever created it.
The state.
The state created it, so they own it.
If it's Utah or California or Florida, and
So wait, the state. So the states that you talk about, the states' rights, Kent, those would be the states. So you're saying Florida? You're saying Indiana, wherever the fuck your ass is from? You're saying Pedo Land, where this guy's from? That'd be the state, the same one you talked about the states' rights with, huh? Also, if the states, were aware of this going on with the federal government, well, wouldn't they exercise their rights? Oh, wait, I forgot. The wrong side won the Civil War. That wasn't the Civil War. It was Lincoln's War, and it wasn't about slavery. It totally wasn't about slavery. It was about slavery.
The stockholders basically have a beneficial interest in the use of that corporation. Very interesting. So a 501c3 is nothing more than another type of a corporation. They don't.
That wasn't my audio edit. The audio went down and someone blasted the gain.
So now, when they come in, and I believe, Kent, that this is just around the corner, and a lot of churches are going to get really...
And yes, I should stress that I hate landlords too. I despise the identity of landlord with an absolute passion. And otaku, yeah, for the work I do. Otherwise, I'll be even broker.
Caught off guard by this, but I think they're going to be in very shortly saying, well, you have to have, if your church has 3,000 members, you're going to have an equal pro rata share of queer ministers on staff.
Sure.
And if you don't have a queer minister, they could revoke that tax status. And you want to say, well...
But that's not how the laws are actually done. The 501c3 thing is kind of a very narrow thing that really only deals with, as it would, with financial aspects. It doesn't go further than that. But of course, these conspiracy nuts think everything's going to turn into some authoritarian hellscape, all while they try to create an authoritarian hellscape. But it's their authoritarian hellscape, so it's okay.
Man, isn't that unconstitutional?
No, not really. They created it.
Yep.
Well, there's a lot of shit that's unconstitutional that you guys support. So fuck you and fuck you, mullet man.
Just like that scenario with McDonald's, okay? If you want to sell Grandma Hovind's 1 pound hamburgers, you can do that. But once you enter into a...
He called him Hovind. I love when people working with the guy can't get his name right.
franchise agreement with McDonald's, you can't sell Grandma Hovind's hamburgers.
I have to sell what they tell me to sell.
You have to,
Right.
exactly. So if we...
Well, if you want to sell your own burgers and not be a McDonald's, why would you sign a franchise agreement to be a McDonald's? Okay, that you're kind of missing the point there. Why the fuck would you do that? Your analogy sucks.
have left our position with God, and we have elected to become this corporate franchise, and they say you will have queer ministers. At that point in time, I think as Christians, it becomes a matter of, are we going to honor our contracts?
Yes.
So I think it's more important to watch what we're doing and be careful the contracts we get into if we don't want to have to follow the terms of those contracts later.
Well, see, in Proverbs chapter 6, it says, if you've stricken your hand with a stranger, you made a contract, try to get out of it. Do your best to undo that,
That's right.
especially an unending contract. If I say, John, I'm going to hire you for $10 an hour to work for me, well, I probably should have an end to that,
Paint my chicken coop.
to work for me until this project is completed, and in case it's taking longer than I thought, then we have a cutoff deadline of, unending contracts are dangerous. You got to be very cautious about that. And
Says the guy who makes an implicit contract with his donors for the unending project and thus unending contract to fund his Dino Adventureland, where they're always doing something. They can't not be working on some stupid project that burns money.
Proverbs chapter 6 warns us about that. So I get some flack from other Christians because we have not incorporated. I am not 501c3. I don't want...
You are now.
...to take... God told me to go preach His Word, okay?
That's right.
I don't need the state's permission to do what God already told me to do. And people who have taken the state's permission look at me like I'm some kind of odd duck, like, why aren't you incorporated, and why haven't you jumped through all these hoops? Well, John Bunyan spent years in jail over this very issue. He refused to take a state license to preach.
Right.
The government said, you must get a license to preach. He said, I'm sorry. If I do that, that's putting God under you guys.
I'm absolutely certain whatever it is you're referencing, that is in no way, shape, or form what was actually going on. And I'm too lazy to look into it, and I also don't give a flying fuck. So, yeah.
Can't put God under you.
Amen.
And so I don't understand why some Christians get bent out of shape with me about that. I'm trying to do what God told me to do.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing. We got these little citizens' rule books here, and in this rule book there's a story.
Are these still available? Holy fuck, I want one of these. Is there like a PDF out there? Yeah. Asian Science Evangelism. Rather be watching Neon Genesis Evangelion. Citizen Handbook, yeah. Not appear to be public available as a single identifiable PDF through initial search. Boo! Ooh, 1998? We got 1998 Hovind here? Hang on. I apologize, we're getting into something. I don't know what. Ah! It's a Aeon! Yo, unscribed! CSE Curriculum Notebook! Yeah! Oh, we gotta do some learning on this. There's the Hovind clan. Oh, I hate scribed, but hey, the goddamned thing is here. Unlock this document by signing up and doing this and doing that. All right, we're going back to this. I'm gonna have to make note of that. I'm gonna leave the tab open. It's conspiracy on top of conspiracy with these people. So he crapped himself. Good for him. I mean, there's nothing I can do if you're not getting audio on their end. That doesn't make sense because they should be fine. I mean, I'll stop and reshare, but I mean, let's see, redeeming the straw man.
Out.
That's exactly correct.
Okay, one juror says no.
And a
I
juror
mean, there we go. Better?
can do that if he thinks the law is unjust.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. Okay, you pass a law, you can't spit on the sidewalk. Somebody spits on the sidewalk. He goes to court. Gets tried. It's obvious he broke the law. But is the law reasonable? And if the juror says, no, that law is not reasonable,
Throw it out.
throw it out. The juror simply votes not guilty. Even though it's obvious he's guilty for breaking the law.
Look, their audio was good on my end. It's probably YouTube itself acting up because something's not acting right here. To activate chat, please enable channels. So I think that was an issue with YouTube or Restream losing stuff. Still got you guys? Yeah, see that's not my that's Restream's end acting up. They weren't muted.
The juror's vote of not guilty because the law is unjust is all.
What they did during that moment, though, is they had, I'll pop back about 30, 40 seconds.
The sad truth is that the judges are telling everybody when you serve on a jury that it has to be unanimous one way or another. And the truth is, if one juror says the guy's not guilty, there's your reasonable doubt.
That's exactly correct.
Okay, one juror says no.
And a juror can do that if he thinks the law is unjust.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. Okay, you pass a law, you can't spit on the sidewalk. Somebody spits on the sidewalk. He goes.
Okay, we actually had it going. I should have went back longer. One of the things they said was some guy would not convict the dude they were talking about earlier who, they were like made him have to sign. He couldn't be a preacher if he didn't, set up a 501c3, that bullshit. And they're like, the guy, didn't vote and they threw him in jail and he was in his own feces. And it's like, dude, what the fuck?
To court. Gets tried. It's obvious he broke the law. But is the law reasonable? And if the juror says, no, that law is not reasonable,
throw it out.
Throw it out. The juror simply votes not guilty. Even though it's obvious he's guilty for breaking the law, the juror's vote of not guilty because the law is unjust is all that's necessary. And all jurors only knew that.
Exactly. You guys sell these here, and this is just a great book.
Yeah, like $1 or something. You know, you got to give one to everybody you know.
I really think people would, they call them, they order some tapes from me. They really need to, order 3 or 4 of these because you need to get them out and give them to your children.
Oh yeah, I know. Claude shouted me out. I was there, popping up like, "What up?" Yeah, Claude's seal of approval means a lot to me because that dude really dives into the Hovind in a way of nitpicking the particular chief moments and condensing them into something he can just pop up and go, doing a little stream, doing a little commentary on stuff, and then going about his life. Whereas I, go the long haul, and the contrast works very well. And as he was saying, and as I agree, we need everybody doing their own content on Hovind or whomever needs to be watched in such a way to ensure that there's a level of awareness that we combat the flood of misinformation, propaganda, whatever you wish to call it, coming from people like these guys.
And things like that, and it's an awesome book.
These have been given out all over Santa Rosa County, which is the next county over from us, and their court system is really having a good time because of this, because the jurors know their rights. They're having an informed
Translation, everybody's getting away with fucking murder in that county.
Jury is just really helpful. So, okay, back to the McDonald's issue. I started McDonald's, I'm making a bunch of money, things are going fine, but you own the real McDonald's.
That's right.
You are Mr., what's his name, Kroc?
Mr. Ray Kroc.
Mr. Ray Kroc, okay. So you come to me and say, hey, Kent Hovind, sorry, you can't use my name anymore.
That's right. Now you've got problems.
Right.
But until the real McDonald's Corporation showed up and is saying you can't use our name, you've been making a lot of money. Things have been working good for you.
Sure.
And that's a scenario that's been...
And prepare to be sued, buddy boy. And yes, I know you're claiming that you're Ray Kroc, and the corporate fiction is the person you're coming to saying, hey, you can't use my name anymore. And thus the implication would be that you would sue the government and get your reward, or your rewards, your reimbursement, your remediation for the use of your stuff. But that's not how any of this works. So in the straw man crap you'll come up with, no, because it's not real. But the McDonald's thing, it very much is real.
Going on right now.
The government's using our name.
That's right, and they're making all these laws and regulations for this guy. You got to pay all kinds of taxes. You got to get a license for a church. You got to get a license to blow your nose, and a license to have children, and a license to death.
Slippery slope with these assholes. Meanwhile, Hovind's over here, quarter of a century later, supporting a dude whose Gestapo is deporting actual fucking citizens. Just be here legally. They are here legally. They're citizens. What the fuck?
And the truth is, they can't make people have a license to have children, things like that.
I hate to keep interrupting you here, but I want to understand this, okay? My
Lies.
son, when he got married, elected not to get a marriage license. You don't need state's permission to do something God said you can do. God ordains marriage, okay?
Then it's not legally a marriage unless there's some special criteria that it falls into, again, under the definition of the law. You can have your magical wumbo-jumbo marriage. Who the fuck cares? But you lose out on certain legal benefits that come from actually having gone through the process.
Right.
And I get some Christians even today that still don't understand, that they think I'm some kind of radical. I guess it's because everybody's been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
And when somebody comes along and says, hey, I've got my freedom, they don't understand it. Or they resent it, or they're jealous of it, or something.
Exactly.
I don't know what it is.
And now I have a lot of appreciation for the battle Christ was fighting with tradition.
Right.
What do you mean? My parents got the marriage license. Their parents got and it's really tradition that we're following, and not God's law. And marriage is a very interesting topic. And
Otaku just fucking owned right here. He found the Citizens Rulebook and has posted it into the Zadara Discord. So if you're not in my Discord, now would be a great time. And then, stick around for the laughs and the absurdity, because it's a place of nothing but abject ridiculousness. It is the best Discord server, by far. Because it's one you can actually have a conversation in.
Everyone's just so familiar with going ahead and getting that
Well,
license.
let's just take that. If you get a marriage license from the state, you don't need the state's permission to get married, okay, obviously.
correct.
But if you decide to do that, that becomes a contract.
That's right.
Now, contractual law is very different than constitutional law.
That's right.
The Constitution gives us as people the right to make all that we want.
That's right.
If I say, John, I'm going to pay you $1,000 an hour for the rest of my life.
We know Ken Hovind's an expert in constitutional law because he's full of shit.
Sign the contract. Of course, I'd be stupid to do that, but hey, if I signed the contract and didn't fulfill it, you take me to the local court, they find me guilty, they
right.
throw me in jail, take away all my property, and give it to you to pay the debt.
That's right.
And I can stand there all day long and say, I've got a constitutional right. Well, yes, you do, but I made the contract.
That's right.
And that's why I was a fool.
You
That's
know,
what Proverbs 6 warns us about.
it's kind of interesting. You talk.
I thought the fool said in his heart there's no God. Which makes you a fool? Setting up the contract? Or believing there's no God, Kent? Which one is it? Pick a lane, motherfucker.
A lot about when people ask you, Ken, do you think we should be teaching creation in public schools? And you like the way you say, well, you're asking the wrong question. Let's talk about should we have public schools first, then that second question kind of takes care of itself.
That's the real question.
And what they're doing to us, they're giving us the same sucker punch. They're setting us up, doing this, and then they're about to pop punches over here. And this thing about same-sex marriage comes up. And the real issue isn't same-sex marriage, right? Let's talk about the real question is, can the state sanction and create a marriage?
Any marriage.
Yes, because it is a legally defined concept. Y'all don't own the concept of a marriage. Get the fuck over it.
No.
Same
they
sex
can't.
otherwise. Yeah.
They can't. So once they've got the Christians to buy into this idea that it's the state that creates the marriage, that then, well, if they can create a marriage, now they can define the terms, whether it's male-male, female-female.
Sure.
And
Because we've already given them the right to make the decision. They don't have the right to make the decision.
That's right. So
Can we share AI art on your Discord? Absolutely. That's actually a bit of a pastime. Is sharing usually AI ridiculousness of Kent when Rosina was able to get more of those to generate. But we'll do some crazy stuff sometime. Yeah, AI art is not forbidden. Obviously, don't go claiming, hey, I did this in Photoshop. But I don't think anyone's going to do that. You generate something stupid, share it. We'll have a laugh. That's what it exists for.
and there's some other interesting things that happen. I know here in Florida there's language to this effect. That's the fruits of the marriage shall be deemed wards of the state. Okay? So if
you produce children.
You produce children. All right? Now, if they are wards of the state and they say, don't spank the state's children, it's a simple matter of contract. Don't spank. Don't sit there and say, well, the Bible says that I have to. The matter is what you do with your children. And
You gave them to the state, so you made a contract.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Yes, but simultaneously, you're suddenly responsible for everything that happens. Oh, wait, I forgot. Y'all just say that's a double standard. They belong to the state, but you're still responsible for everything.
somebody did that. Somebody's watching this tape and they say, hey, I did that. I got a marriage license and I spanked my kid and I'm in trouble. HRS or whoever's after me now. Are we getting ahead of ourselves? How to get out of that? How to undo the damage by making that contract? Or you want to cover that later, or is this a good night?
Truth, libertarian Christians are covertly just hankering for the Middle Ages plus their own sleazy capitalism. You have the worst of every world. Hovind.
I think, I had somebody call me about that last week.
Okay.
And their idea was, well, should we go and get a divorce now? Well, no, don't further validate the thing by getting a divorce. Because what are you saying? You're sitting there saying, well, we recognize that we had one of these marriages. Now we're trying to go and seek further, remedy from somebody that created marriage already?
Right.
I think
He said remedy, the magic word. So there's this video of that I cannot find, and if anyone can find this, please link it in the Discord. Where this Sov-Sit is he's he's going up and he's doing his script, and the judge is like, "Are you such and such, such and such?" No, but I represent him. And eventually gets so tired of it, he's like, finds him in contempt and sends him off. It's like, and the guy goes complaining about his remedy, like, "Where's my remedy?" Da, 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 da. And when um, the judge sends him off, and the guy stresses again that he is not the person, and he's like, "Well, when you find him, tell him too." It's something like that, and I just fucking love that clip, and I hate that I just can't find it anymore. So if anyone knows the one I'm talking about and can find it, please do. I will be very grateful for a chance to laugh at that again.
the truth of the matter is was there ever a bona fide contract where all the terms and conditions were held on the table? And so I don't recommend doing things like trying to get a divorce and all this stuff.
Can you fill out papers, send them take them to the court, file stamp that undoes your marriage license? At least undoes the contract with the state.
Well, what I like to do is go ahead and include.
That would be called a divorce, Kent. You're an expert on those now, ain't you?
That marriage license with our filing on our commercial affairs. So basically, that just like what we're going to be doing with the straw man, where we've been filing a UCC one financing statement against the character down here.
And yeah, that sounds incredibly familiar there, Justin. Incredibly familiar. I saw you post that, and I'm like, that's got to be it.
Here, laying a claim by the real man against the straw man. Every one of these quasi-cons is going to be named within that UCC filing.
Okay, so they made 6, 8, 10, 20 contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Each of these contracts, marriage license, social security number, driver's license, whatever, you lay claim to those.
You know what? That's that's I think a celebrity's name. It's like it was something similar. What did I just? God, I got too many damn tabs open. Name's David Hall. It looks like, and it's an old enough video that it might well be the one. So I'll check that out here shortly.
Right.
So then it doesn't matter. So now if the state says you can't spank your children, you say, excuse me, I own this contract. You don't own this contract anymore.
That's right.
So that's really the proper way to get out of this, isn't it?
It totally flips everything.
Okay.
And
does that work? I mean, in reality.
It has been working all over the country very well. And once the process is done right, it's been working very well. And ultimately, I know this, eventually we are going to get to the point where nothing works. And the powers to be are going to say this: bow down and worship the beast, the abomination of desolations.
Yeah.
And at that point, nothing is going to work, and it's either worship the beast or not. Now, I'm fairly pre-trib rapture in my thinking.
Hovind's going to say you're wrong now.
And I don't believe the Christians are going to have to go through that period. I believe we will be raptured out of here before then. But inevitably, we are...
Look at it. Hovind's just itching to argue with him. Although I wonder when Hovind switched from pre-trib to post-trib.
approaching a point when nothing is actually going to work.
You're going to have to stand for what's right, and it's going to cost you.
That's right. That's right. And ultimately, my opinion right now is I think in the last days there is going to be a great revival. But if you look at all the great revivals, and if you look at when the gospel of Christ was spreading, it was over the backs and deaths of the martyrs. And I think,
Yes, Anthony Michael Hall is an actor from John Hughes movies who sadly went insane. Yes.
kind of reminds me of the story of the two comrades standing on the corner.
Comrades? Comrades! Hold up, everyone. You know what time it is. Hang on. Give me just a second. I don't have this loaded up. One of these days. Ah, God damn it. All right, give me just a sec to get things ready. You know what time it is. I can't do the whole thing. I seriously love this actual piece of media a lot. But he said comrades, so we had to go to the magic. That's the magic word, man. It's like Pee-wee's Playhouse. Instead of screaming when you hear the magic word, he says, "Comrade, it's Soviet time."
It was over the backs and deaths of the martyrs. And I think, it kind of reminds me of the story of the two comrades standing on the corner. And the one guy said to his fellow comrade, "Comrade, if you had two houses, would you give me one?" "Yes, comrade, I'm a good Communist Party member. If I had two houses, I would give you one."
The communist member, they wouldn't have two houses. Houses would be provided to them. Because that's the government's role, is to support the population, because the population is the government. How hard is this shit to understand?
"Comrade, if you had two cars, would you give me one?" "Yes, comrade. I'm a good communist. If I had two cars, I would give you one." Okay. "Hey, comrade, one more question. If you had two shirts, would you give me one?"
Hey, let's be clear, Laura. That is not the Russian anthem. Russia usurped the Soviet anthem in 2000 to be its anthem because the old one, people didn't really like it, the 91 to 2001, which is understandable. But they usurped, like they did everything, the Soviet identity to themselves. And that pisses me right the fuck off. Because the Soviet anthem was fucking awesome. It's a fucking beautiful song. And their version, the Russian version, it's not right. It's the same music, but lyrically it's all wrong. And of course, it's relatively nationalist, which is funny to say about a national anthem, but it really kind of is. They tried too hard to be like, well, we're still the Soviet Union, but we're not. It's like, nah. You're a corruption of the worst elements of the Soviet Union that caused it to collapse the way it did. I love the Russian people. I love the idea of Russia, but the country as it is currently, of course. And yeah, we ain't standing for no Russian anthem, but the Soviet anthem, we cry on that. Roman persecution is mostly fiction. Yep.
His comrade spit at him and walked away. "Well, why? What happened?" "I have two shirts." Right. And it's kind of the same thing in this country. For years, Christians have been saying, "Yes, I will die for Christ." But then they get ashamed to go to a restaurant and bow their head and let everybody see that they're praying. The guys at work, they're going to...
Oh, and I just checked my phone. Chris from Record Talk, thank you so very much for the donation. You are helping. Everyone is helping. Still got a ways to go. Keep it up, comrades.
ridicule me. So God so far has not been asking us to die for him. He's been asking us to live for him.
And we're not even doing that.
And if we're ashamed to live for him, and like Romans 12 says, to present ourselves a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable. If we're not even going to be willing to have our feelings hurt for him, what would happen if the day came that we are asked to pay the ultimate and give our life for him?
I see it as the frog in the pot analogy. We're slowly raised the temperature.
There you go, the frog in the pot, because he can't come up with anything else. He's got to be brutal as fuck.
Christians keep saying, I'll never take the mark of the beast. Well, now, slow down. You already took the contracts. You already took the Social Security number.
Yes.
You already took all the licenses. You already took yourself out from under God's authority. Don't tell me you won't take the mark. You will take the mark. And I think we're going to be shocked at how many Christians can't succumb to the pressure when it reaches that point. Like, they're heating up the furnace now.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's only going to be 3 that don't bow. That's what happened. You figure they took 7,000 Jewish young men captive, brought them to Babylon, trained them in the Babylonian language, Babylonian customs, and when he built that statue and said, bow down and worship it, 6,997 of those Jewish boys bowed down. They've been taught all their life, don't bow to statues. Well, they did anyway.
Yep.
I mean, when you're looking at the furnace and looking at the statue, okay, you bow down and kiss the dirt. And I think this mark of the beast, when it says he causeth all to receive a mark in the right hand or the forehead, and without the mark you can't buy or sell, it's real easy for us to sit here and say, I'll never take that mark. Well, just wait till...
Hey, Kent, what if the mark of the beast is money in and of itself? What then? You can't buy or sell? Well, you can't buy or sell without money, can you? Huh? Interesting, huh, Kent? See, I can play these games too. I can really, I'm wired. I am very fortunate because of the way I'm a pattern-seeking person and the way my mind wanders with ideas that I don't fall for this kind of crap. Because there was a 12-second period where I was actually paying attention to sovereign citizen crap. And it's a video that I'm sure a lot of you have seen. We may look over it. The moment it brought up the understand thing that I opened this with in their lingo about standing under things as opposed to comprehending, I was out. I was like, this is stupid. And I'm very grateful that for as wired for, honestly, for religious thinking, for this kind of odd, abstract thinking of stuff, that I have the sense to just detect bullshit and be like, nope, this is stupid. Great benefit of that is it's allowed me to wrap my head around really esoteric concepts. I'm not saying I'm an expert on anything, but quantum physics doesn't confuse me in the way it does anyone else on a casual approach. I'm not saying that makes me special or normal or abnormal or anything. It's just, I go into them like, oh, wait, okay, because I can accept the arbitrary, that things are just what they are, because I'm wired to be able to, which can lead to accepting this kind of stuff if you don't have the other faculties to defend that. It's kind of a nice little bit of processing that can be exploited, if that makes sense. What's my point? I don't know.
You're hungry.
Yes. Yeah, and that's exactly what happened in the Depression.
Sure. Everybody's hungry.
Standing in line to take that mark.
And that's how they create the crisis on purpose. The Depression was purposely created so that people would line up to take this number. And they're going to do another depression or something so that people will line up to get the mark. Give me my chip.
The Great Depression was a conspiracy. It wasn't because of a post-war bubble that burst. Oh, man, that was a big bubble that burst. Nope, it wasn't that. It was all planned. It was all created, just arbitrarily. The free market somehow bows down beyond the corporate masters that are all corporate fiction from the state. But not the states, they mean the federal state that controls, the world, because, the United States in 1929 totally controlled Germany, totally controlled the fledgling Soviet Union, totally controlled Britain, totally controlled Canada, totally controlled Mexico. It's just how everything worked. This wasn't a global thing.
I want to go to the store and buy something. That's
coming.
That's coming very soon.
Coming soon to a town near you.
Here we are.
Just like Jesus has been coming for decades now, coming for thousands of years. Shit, you wish you were coming for that long.
We've gotten all these contracts, marriage license, driver's license, etc. Give us some practical steps. Step one.
Let us note that their abhorrence to public schools is actually related to this. Things like the driver's license, it's rooted in the idea that certain basic standards needing to be met, certain criteria that say, okay, this checks out from some central place. Just, that's a horrible idea to them. Accreditation, too. Well, this is a college. I got a degree. It's just as good as your degree. It's like, no, it's not accredited. Well, it's just a conspiracy. It's like, no, we got standards. It's amazing how this all ties together. And when you hear little things like this being brought up, complaining about driver's licenses and stuff, it kind of it gives you that last little piece you need to figure out exactly where their minds are. That they hate centralized authority that they don't control. Just that's it. And of course, it's like, well, they're God, and it's like they control their God. Ever notice that everyone's God conveniently has the exact same opinions that person does every time? It's really funny.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What do you recommend average person do?
First of all, I think people really need to start studying and getting themselves up to speed.
Where do they get information? Study what?
On where they're at. And there's a whole series of good books that helps gets you up to speed. And a lot of times people say, John, are you talking conspiracy theories? And
yes, you are.
And I say this, either you believe your Bible or not, and the Bible says there's a one world government coming, and there is going to be this thing, abomination of desolations. All right? Now,
I don't know nothing about the abomination of desolations. I know about the desolation in the Guild Wars. Actually, shit, where? Guild Wars 2 Wiki Desolation. I forgot where it is. The desolation is a harsh landscape central home for Palawa Joko. Yeah, there we go. It's loading. Yeah, this fucking map. Hate this fucking map. Are you going to finish loading? No? Wow, that's great. It doesn't even want to finish loading. Can we reload so my audience can see? There we go. There we go. Look at this shit. The fucking desolation. You got sulfur that fucking kills you. You got this fucking bone castle that... God damn it. Fucking bone castle down here. We won't zoom in further. You got devourers over here, destroyers. You got all this shit. Shit floating everywhere over here. You got a fucking town like right here just chilling like, what up? How the fuck are you going to live next to this? It's going to smell like rotten eggs all day. I know this desolation. And I'm aware of the desolation of smog, although I don't know much about it. But I don't know nothing about this desolation you're talking about.
to me, that is the conspiracy. That
Right.
Satan has been conspiring against God for all ages, and that is what everything is heading to. So, yes, I believe there's a conspiracy.
It's one thing to have imaginary friends. It's another to have imaginary enemies.
Conspiracy theory, and it's authored by Satan himself.
Yeah, Satan versus God. It's not a smoke-filled room someplace.
That's right.
Right.
So now there's a lot of books like the Federal Mafia, the Creature from Jekyll Island. There's a book you guys offer.
Yeah, no, all jokes aside, Otaku, that map fucking sucks. I actually don't much like the Path of Fire or Living World Season 4 maps at all. I've grown more accepting of them, but that's because I have the fucking sky scale, so I can just fly around. Ugh. Yeah. I was on that map recently getting skill points for one of my characters. I'm trying to get all of the elite specs for all of my characters. So that's 7 characters, 4 elite specs each, needing roughly 200 to 300 skill points each. Each skill point area gives you 10 in the expansions. So that's several, and this is going through the same map, several hundred of these things I need to do in like a rotation, or a couple hundred. It's ridiculous. Maybe 100 total skill points. I don't know.
Here at the ministry about World Without Cancer. All of that deals with cancer. Man, it is awesome to read that book and see how I.G. Farben and Rockefellers and
I.G. Farben, IG Farben, the pharmaceutical company that profited heavily from Nazi Germany's actions. Yeah, just saying. Of course, you're going to claim conspiracy there. Also, there's a lot of European companies, especially German ones, you shouldn't look up the history of because they probably were involved in helping out a certain group between 33 and 45. That being said, that was kind of what you did It'd be like getting mad at whatever companies manufacture U.S. military equipment today, specifically because their equipment is used by the U.S. military. It's like, you can't. It is what it is at the time.
The DuPonts and just all these guys are together in this thing.
Hey, are you gonna bring up Union Carbide and how in December of 1984, failure to maintain a facility caused the deaths of thousands of people in Bhopal, India, and how they never apologized for it, never did anything about it? Are you gonna cover that? It's funny you want to talk about these companies, but when the companies actually do horrific things and do fuck their way out of it by fucking over a place like Bhopal, India, you just don't care. You mentioned Dow Chemical. They own Union Carbide, if memory serves. They still don't want to acknowledge it. They have pages up against that, like talking anti-Bhopal propaganda going on. Fuck Union Carbide. Fuck Dow Chemical. Fuck them. But you won't talk about that. Oh, no. It's just the ones that fit into your end times apocalypse conspiracy. But, when it's other companies fucking over the world, it's okay. But just you gotta pick and choose, but don't pay attention to us picking and choosing. You can't look at our hypocrisy because we're Christians. You can't do that.
And that is just a little taste of what happened with the medical industry. But what happened with the medical industry happened with law, happened with psychiatry, happened.
Cyrax loses another girlfriend. Oh, I don't even follow that clown, but I love the regular updates.
With even the churches, through this 501c3 thing, and it's amazing what happens. So yeah, there's a lot of good books that people can get. And I say the first thing is when we start talking about the straw man, there's a lot of things that happen to get up to the point where we are today.
Right.
And so there's a lot of these good books that I think that they can get and they can start reading. What I don't recommend that people, watch a tape like this and then say, I'm going to stop paying my taxes, and they have no idea what they're doing.
Get themselves in trouble. Go off half-cocked. Right.
And exactly, because there's some people who...
That's the only way Hovind can go in. Erectile dysfunction. And God doesn't love them enough to make it work.
that code obviously applies. All right? And there's certain people that don't.
Oh, no. See. They do care about the third world when they can rape its people and land for every single thing they can get from it. Then let the corpse rot.
I've got a friend that came over here from Germany. He doesn't file a tax return. All right? And obviously, he doesn't need to. But there's a lot of other people who don't need to file that return either.
Right.
And I'm not in a position to say whether you should be filing that return or not. You've got to look at your own scenario.
Hey, you want to know the criteria for your scenario? If you make under a certain amount, which is pretty fucking low, you ain't going to be living on your own with that amount. That's for damn sure. Basically, underneath the initial credit provided, which used to be like $1,200, roughly like $1,350 now, because Trump's tax cuts kind of helped everybody in that tiny little fraction, but it obviously helps the higher ups way better. And no, this is not financial advice whatsoever. But you don't actually have to file because it's kind of a non-issue. Of course, the refund thing, there you go. But at that point, your payments kind of don't even happen. It's kind of convoluted. Went through some stuff with a job I had that, was a part-time gig while I was doing, the Yamato sabbatical, we could jokingly call it. Kind of part of what helped the debts get high. Yeah. You kind of fall into a null area where you technically don't have to file. That was my experience. Because I was making so little that it didn't matter. It preemptively worked out. It's broke as fuck. but it was a fun kind of broke. But when you people are pulling in, thousands upon thousands a month, easy, thousands a week, when you're able to pull out multiple times a week, 9.5K, Kent, that's not someone making 1,200 or under a year. You're pulling more than that out in 1 week. All right, there's problems there. Government's going to look into that, and they need to look into it more, and you should have got a harder sentence for what you did. Because you robbed from me and every single person who is an American or was in America at the time in my chat. Every last one of us you stole from. I demand remediation, good sir.
Look at the law, study the law, and make that determination for yourself.
Sure, and I've spent a long time studying that and trying to put this in perspective. Jesus said the love of money is the root of all evil.
That's correct.
And what we have here is some people who have a strong love of money, Rockefellers, etc., and who have worked to make us all their slaves.
Right.
You charge something on your credit card, they get 2 or 3%. They didn't do a thing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. They're really raking in the dough.
They are.
They loan the money to the government so that they can collect the interest off of that loan. They'll even create a war. Country A fights country B. We'll loan both of them money.
And let them kill themselves.
Let them kill most of them. We've got to keep a few left to pay off this debt, because after all, they do all this money, Put a stop to the war when we're ready. Now you both start paying back this money, because you don't recycle.
Oh, Kent, so is the current conflict just us paying both sides? Is that what's going on? Inquiring minds want to know.
Much on a $40,000 bomb.
Right.
You get 20 cents worth of scrap metal, So they make a fortune on this.
Right.
And so if we can keep in mind Jesus' words, the love of money is the root of all evil, and that Satan does indeed want to rule this world, and he hates humanity, then it starts to make sense of how...
I don't know, given that he generally tries to benefit people, whereas your God's the one who's literally killed everyone on the planet, save for, 8 people or whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the ones you call the bad guy, because he seems to actually give a damn.
We've got this problem.
Yes.
We've allowed it to be created. Now, to redeem the straw man, to lay claim to this,
Mm-hmm.
you help people do this.
Yes.
They say, first of all, they need to study and know what they're doing. Make sure they want to go this route.
Right.
What problems are associated? If I fill out the paperwork and follow your plan and say, send it off to the Secretary of State and say, I'm laying claim to Kent Hovind, the corporation.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna laugh and throw it in the trash.
Now, what's the pitfalls? What do I have to be careful of?
Well, one of the beautiful things about doing this is a lot of people are are expecting this total change in their life that's going to make everything instantly impossible for them. They're used to trying to get rid of that Social Security number and refuse mail that doesn't come addressed completely right. And the way I put it was a breath of fresh air to realize that I really don't have to change that much. I can go ahead and continue living my life as I'm living it and continue to use that Social Security number.
Okay,
I
so
don't have to get rid of it.
They created a Social Security number. You just keep using it, you're saying?
I privatized it.
You privatized
recorded it into my commercial affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go ahead and I keep using that.
Let's just say, ladies and gentlemen, privatize your Social Security number. I'll help you out. Only $9.95.95. Yes. In what currency? You'll find out once we're done. Call it a day.
Difficult, and you really got to know the law, and you really got to get an arm wrestle when you try and walk into a bank and get them to open a bank account for you without a Social Security number or EIN number. And a lot of people
won't do it because the bank is tied in with.
Well, a lot of people are shocked to find out that yes, you can do that.
Okay.
But the amount of effort that it takes, the normal person out there trying to work out a living for themselves doesn't have the time to go and investigate and research and stuff.
Something I just love is the fact that these kinds of fuckwits, namely, Hovind, of course, are the ones who want to deport all the people who ain't here legally, da-da-da-da-da. Yet they do everything they can in this regard to, as I've said before, basically give up their citizenship without actually giving it up. They don't want to be citizens, but they want the benefits of being citizens. Real convenient. Privatize my social security number. So you're still using it. And nothing actually changed. You just pretend to yourself it changed. Because it never was what you thought it was to begin with. Good job.
Study. And if I'm going to study, I'd rather be studying the Word of God than memorizing all the legalism that Satan's been creating for the last 200 years.
All the legalism that Satan's been creating for 200 years.
So that's the thing I like about the system is you don't have to get rid of all these things, which is the traditional way a lot of people have been doing it, but you just lay claim to it and privatize it as yours, basically, is what you do.
So the bank that you go down and fill out the application to get a bank account and put that number on there, they don't realize that it's privatized. Or do they care? Does it matter?
I don't think that little lady, as long as she gets a number from you, she's going to give you that bank account. So,
are you asking? Is that sticking your head in the news stuff?
Yeah, Otaku, that's actually where I got it from. That's just my crappy memory redoing stuff. And just me liking 95.
Asking for trouble later?
I don't believe it is, no.
Because you have privatized it.
That's correct.
Okay, so if they study and find out, okay, yes, we're trapped, we've made ourselves a bed, we have to lay in it now. If you go in and say, I rescind my Social Security number, and some people do this, they're shocked to find out 20 years later the government did not rescind it.
Still there.
It's still there.
That's right.
Sure.
See, because what happened, the government...
Did you go through the proper processes? Because, if you don't want to have a Social Security number, you're an American and you don't want it anymore, there's a great way to have it no longer exist. It's called renouncing your citizenship. I don't recommend it, but you can do it. Then you're on your own. But that's what you guys need to do, because you don't want to be American, but you want the benefits of being American. Can't have it both ways. Pick a lane. And I suggest you renounce your citizenships, and then you become Trump's Gestapo's problem. Of course, they won't do anything to idiots like you. You're not tan enough. But under the way they're supposed to be working, y'all would be candidates 1 and 2.
Used them as collateral and security to borrow money, and their blood, sweat, and tears was pledged to pay that loan back for the government.
Sure.
So that account was basically used to create money, all right? And they borrowed money against it. They can't just, hit delete in their computer, because now they got a big bookkeeping problem because they've already borrowed money against it.
Right. So if a person, such as myself, stopped using their Social Security number 25, 30 years ago, okay? Didn't use it for anything.
What was Satan doing before the USA was established? I don't know. Ruining Britain? I don't know. It's a very good question. Well, it's like, what was God doing before he created the universe? Just jerking off constantly.
I went down to the Social Security office and said, can you look up this number for me, please? My number from 30 years ago. Sure, no problem. Here's your name. I said, how much have I paid in? And I had paid in for several years, and all of a sudden there's 00000 for many, many years. But
right.
I'm still in there.
Yes.
I filled out the paperwork when I got ordained. That They said, you fill out these papers, you can drop out of Social Security. I did all that. Well, guess what? They still have me.
Yes.
So the options are...
You're not paying into the system, but you're, going to still be in the system. The number isn't just going to disappear, dude. That's not how it works. It's literally just... it's just the thing with everyone I talk about. All these people. It's like, that's not how that works. I say that so much in my day-to-day life.
Try to fight that the rest of your life. Or accept it. Ask for a new card, which has a number on the back that's very interesting. That's your account number at the bank, right? At the Federal Reserve Bank.
That's right.
No, that's not.
So get a new card after 92. Then, if you use that, you go through the steps of filing certain papers to privatize that, to redeem this straw man. And really, nothing changes much in your lifestyle, but you now are back up here as a free man.
Right.
Under God's authority.
It's kind of like when somebody accepts Christ as their
Kent, are you about to say, I am the living man?
Savior. What changes? Well, you don't have to do anything. There's an internal change that happens.
Right.
And it's the freedom that you experience is overwhelming.
Right.
And by accepting Christ, it does not put you under a great big long list of laws and do's and don'ts. It's total.
People think it does, though. It's tragic.
Total freedom.
I see Christians that they think, people are, well, if I become a Christian, I got this big long list.
The way I see it, Christianity is kind of like being on railroad tracks. Okay? And a lot of times words are deceptive.
Right.
Sometimes the most restricting thing in the world is free will. Because once you exercise that free will, that choice has just locked out every other possibility and has put you on a specific track or a specific path. And if we have two trains, one's not on railroad tracks, see how far it's going to go.
Sure.
And another's on railroad tracks. It's like there's a lot of freedom within the confines of marriage.
Stay on the track, but you go a lot faster than you will trying to go on the gravel.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Okay, so...
Well, why would you have a train on gravel? It's kind of supposed to be on the tracks. If your train is running on gravel and not on tracks, you are in train trouble. An error occurred. Thanks, YouTube. Thank you so very much. You are just the best. 4122. Did it get deleted? No. All right, let's jump ahead to 4122. Come on. Poor computer
Use
can't
my
handle
name.
it. 4122. There we go. There we go. Yeah, train trouble.
These contracts, marriage license, driver's license, etc., we just simply privatize them. They belong to me now.
That's right.
And so and the government says you have to renew this driver's license. Send us $50, please, or something. What do you do?
If you wanted to, you could go down and renew that, or you could use a commercial process on that.
And would take hours and hours to explain a commercial process?
Yeah, it probably would.
Okay.
Get into it, and we'd talk another couple hours probably.
This way I can sell you another DVD that explains this, yeah.
Because basically when they created this straw man, they created an account, and you could direct them to pay that straw man's bills.
That's right.
Out of that account.
That's right.
Now you can't go get all that money and say, send it to me, please, but you can, let's say they want $50 for a driver's license to renew it. You could direct the Secretary of the Treasury to pay that $50 out of your...
No, you can't. Say it with me, everyone. That's not how that works.
DTA.
Out of your DTA. Designated...
Direct Treasury account.
Direct Treasury account. Okay, I know we're going to get 1,000 phone calls, and that's what I don't want if people see this tape. I don't want to hear any more about it, because I don't know any more about it, okay? There are people that'll help. Right Way Law.
Right Way Law.
Helps people.
Jack Smith and the guys out there at Right Way Law.
They've been studying the law for years, and they encourage people, look, study the law, obey the law. I think everybody should obey the law, even the government.
Even the government.
Even the government, sure. I'm not trying to break the law.
I'm not trying to break the law. All Hovind does is break the law.
So if you want to get a bank loan, no problem. You just go down and they ask
fill out the paperwork.
Fill out the paperwork.
And get a loan. I just have problems with the Christian going down and getting loans.
Yeah, we should try that. Oh, no, man, anything.
That's right.
But some people, the reason a lot of churches don't want to get...
Well, see, that's the great thing is that when you get a loan from like the bank and stuff, you don't owe a man anything. You now owe a corporation. Gosh. And if the corporations are made by the state, then you own the state or owe the state. See, Kent? That's how it works out. Funny, you kind of self-owned there.
Unincorporated is because if they get unincorporated, they feel they can no longer give out tax receipts for their members who give money,
right.
Which goes back to what Jesus said, the love of money is the root of all evil. The fact of the matter is you can give out a tax receipt if you want.
By the way, donate to my 777 club.
That's right. I think
I give out receipts to people. If they donate to our ministry, we can give them a receipt.
Yes.
I'm not a 501c3 corporation. We give them receipts all day long.
That's
no
right.
problem.
I think the other thing people need to do, they need to start reading.
Yeah, and since at the time you weren't a 501c3, they could not claim their donations as tax deductible. Not that you care, but that's what the purpose of the receipt is.
Some of the foundational law that set the country up. They need to go, and most people don't even know, how do I get a copy of my state constitution? You mean my state even has a constitution? Right. They don't even know that. And you read the state constitutions, and most of the state constitutions I've seen, churches are exempt from taxes.
Right.
They don't have to file. It's just a matter in their constitution that...
Yep, and if that's the case, that matters at the state level, not the federal level. By the way, a nice thing about being in Tennessee, granted many states are like this, we don't have a state income tax. We just have a 925 on normal goods and like 7% on food. Taxes are kind of high as fuck here on purchases, but you deal with it. I'm used to it, so it doesn't bug me. You just round everything by 10% and you're good.
They can't tax the church. So there's a lot of misconceptions people have, and those misconceptions are basically, what Christ was even fighting, tradition. It's a misconception for such a long period of time that it now becomes tradition, and everybody does it. Well, because everyone's done it. Everyone has always done it.
Yeah, misconception that everyone does it, like believe in God. There's totally a God that loves you. I guess I'm just going to believe it. 1,000 years later, everyone love God.
Done it. So we need to start looking and reading some of the foundational documents.
All right. Well, we'll add more to this tape from time to time. We want to encourage you to don't get distracted on things of this world that are not going to matter anyway. I think,
like Kent Hovind, and like mythical fairy tales in some stupid book from the dumb ages.
we should try very hard to keep ourselves directly accountable to God. But I see an awful lot of Christians get distracted, wasting hours and hours and hours.
I don't know about no God, but my audience is very accountable to the Lord. Lord Yamato, that is, yeah. You all pass my judgment.
On what some people call the patriot movement, whatever that is. I don't know what it is. But, spend thousands
God, he's even been saying that. You don't know what anything is, Kent, but you sure talk about it a lot.
of hours on things that they're not going to matter after 5 seconds after you're dead anyway.
Right.
Let's go win souls and
Amen.
Preach the gospel. But the concept of
Then why are you doing this video? Oh, right.
redeeming the straw man has been fascinating to me as I listened through the tape seminar while I was driving. I listened to the audio tapes from Right Way Law, and it was interesting that we have really let them take us into captivity, and it's not that hard to redeem yourself.
That's right.
To get out of that.
It's easy.
So, there's another factor, though, that I think some people miss. Because I'm...
Is it the O'Reilly factor? Sorry, had to.
not under the law here, I could drive 100 miles an hour, 200 miles an hour on the interstate if I wanted, as long as I don't hurt anybody, according to my Constitution.
Right.
I cannot be deprived of my property without due process, and that has to...
Let us note that they love to bring up the Constitution, a federal document, yet otherwise demand states' rights and all that jazz, when it's the states that set the speed limits. Just, how do they reconcile that? They don't. They just make this shit up as they go along.
Must have been an injured party. If I don't wear a seatbelt, I didn't injure anybody.
That's right.
The state can require their person to wear a seatbelt because that belongs to them, and they're concerned about him.
Right.
But if I've redeemed...
Oh, and there's the show me the hurt party crap. Another soft-sit thing where a party has to be hurt. It's like, nope. Laws don't matter about parties being injured or not injured.
him,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
It's interesting because in Florida, the speed statute that cops love to write is 316.183. And if you get a ticket, I can almost guarantee you that's a statute they're going to write, unlawful speed.
And yep, there were plenty of Bronze and Iron Age books that were 100 times more clear than the worthless Bible. And a wonderful super chat from Captive Desk. PayPal did not work last summer or today. Sorry, doesn't like my virus software or something. It's the thought that counts. You still sent $20 that will go towards things in the future. I may have to bite overdraft fees on this one and talk with my bank and be like, hey, can we kind of do something about the additional? Because I'll have a lot of small transactions coming out at once and they hit you for $35 every single time. Banks are evil, but necessary. But that will go towards a lot of things come mid-January, so it is greatly appreciated.
If you know how to follow that law through, you look at the statute, and at the bottom of the statute gives history and things like that. And then there is something called the administrative code.
Right.
And a lot of people don't even know there's the administrative code, and they don't know how.
Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same as my luggage.
It's the administrative code going hand in hand with the statute that has the force and effect of law. And they don't know how to look all that stuff up, but you go through to your implementing regulations, and 316.183 was enacted so that the state could regulate its school bus drivers.
Regulate the school bus drivers. And yeah, this is a good point from Laura. Does Kent not realize the government makes us wear seatbelts to keep us safe, to prevent hurt? Yeah, it's like, show me the injured party. Well, yourself if you get in an accident. Well, I didn't get into an accident. You were going to. Can you prove it? Yeah, keep on driving. I'll wait.
Doesn't have to do with the average driver anyway,
It has
does it?
nothing to do with the average driver. The helmet law. The state would like its troopers, when they're out driving around on their Harleys, to make sure they have helmets on. That makes a lot of sense. I used to have a sign business, and I told guys when they used the saw, they had to have safety glasses. Well, when they punched out at the end of the day, went home and used their saw, if they want to wear safety glasses, they did.
Sure.
You know, my company
smart.
policy did not apply to them at home.
At home.
So what they try and do, the state comes and passes policy for its highway troopers, and they want everyone to follow it when that law doesn't apply to everyone.
Sure.
It doesn't have that authority.
Well, the other factor, let's take seat.
Well, states have rights, but they don't have authority to actually tell you how to do anything. It's just fucking incredible.
belt. Okay, I've redeemed my straw man.
Hey, if your car engine just blows up after you take it to a mechanic, would you complain about it and then like go to the mechanic and be like, hey, I'm going to sue you. Your engine blew up after you worked on it. Where's the standards? What purpose do you have? You defeat the purpose of the concept of law. It's convenient when you want law to apply in those kinds of cases, but never when it impedes your ability to do whatever the fuck you assholes want.
I don't have to wear my seatbelt if I don't want to. Number one, it's smart to wear your seatbelt.
Amen.
Number two, I don't want my liberty to be a stumbling block to others.
That's right.
Yes, I can drive 200 miles an hour as long as I don't hurt anybody.
And if you were out
That's a bad testimony.
If you were out in Nevada in the desert, there's no one around. Maybe if you wanted to, all right. But I don't believe as a Christian I can go 200 miles an hour through town or out on I-75.
I don't believe my old man will do 200 miles an hour anyway, but
The Spirit won't let me. So
Is that the Dino Van?
it's, you know, and the other thing, I think what a lot of people need to do is they need to go down to the courts, find out when they're having criminal traffic proceedings, all right? Guys driving on suspended license, drunk driving, things like that. And you're going to find out that there's so many paying customers, I mean people that have been arrested, that it's supposed to be a public proceeding, but they got so many people that have been charged that if you don't have an information against you or a ticket against you, you won't even get a seat. And that's how many people are in here. But you're going to see this, that the court hasn't even been in session 15 minutes and they're up over $40,000 in fines. I was amazed to find guys who were DUI, all right, that they got in wrecks, they hurt people. No jail time, a $5,000 fine, 5 years probation, with one of the terms of probation at the end of 5 years is that you've paid the $5,000 fine, all right? So if you violate your probation, then they can throw you in jail for the full jail sentence. So what they're doing, they're using the jail sentence over here as a hammer, holding it over your head, saying, you better pay this fine, because if you don't pay the fine, we're going to throw you in jail. See, they don't want to throw you in jail for DUI. They want you to be paying fines. That's the name of the game with DUI.
Funny.
You know, it was like a conversation I had with a guy. I was waiting for a table at a restaurant, and I was talking to this guy, and I told him, I said, I personally don't agree with the DUI laws. and he looked at me like I was his best friend. You know, he personally had 3 or 4 DUIs. Every time he got in an accident or people that were hurt, he hadn't gone to jail yet. And he had one fine of $5,000. The next time he got $7,000, and the fines are just going up, up, up. And he's, you know, working, goes down to his probation officer, and he's making all his little payments.
Right.
And he knows he can drive as drunk as he wants. He's just going to have to keep getting these fines that he has to pay. And he thought I was his best friend when I said I disagree with the DUI. And I said the real issue should be if you are incapable of...
So I'm going to read this one out from our friend Tigre Mango 99. This is a perfect example of how you can lose an hour of your life listening to a moron talking about nonsense. Yamato, thank you for making fun of Hovind. You make it not as torturous to listen. I appreciate that. And I'm so glad that I can be a vessel through which y'all can experience the insanity, the outright insanity of Kent Hovind. And not receive, hopefully, any lasting psychological damage.
Controlling yourself. I don't care if you haven't had any beers, right? And you drive in an irresponsible manner and you hurt someone, right? Especially you kill someone, you should be in the hot seat. Well, he looked at me like I was the worst thing in the world.
Right.
And he said, if it was that way, I would go to 7-Eleven and buy a case of beer and go home and drink it. And I'm like, imagine that. Personal accountability.
Sure.
If you'd
That's
have
what the
to,
Bible's full of.
exactly.
Personal accountability for everyone who does the things we allegedly don't do, but no personal accountability for us when we do things that are horrible.
Accountability.
But see, if people were personally accountable, they couldn't make all this money through this corrupt court system.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
No, but yeah, in a weird way, of the classic case of Christians want to see people suffer.
Well, good. Well, John, we sure appreciate your time, and there's a million other rabbit trails I'd like to go down. I've got quite a list here in front of me.
Rabbit trails.
I don't want Christians who haven't discovered their liberty to get mad at me because I have.
Right.
And
Yes.
that's what happens. It's really sad.
Yeah, and all I can say...
What about that liberty you lost for 9.5 years, Kent? Dumbass.
is when you meet someone who has discovered what's going on, there's a whole another world out there that you may not have stumbled upon.
He said a whole nother.
And so if somebody's out there driving without a driver's license, it may be sinful for you at that point to get rid of your driver's license, because if you honestly believe...
Oh, so now sins are conditional. Oh, that's fucking great. It's not conditions will determine if something is a sin or not. No. The exact same action in and of itself is now conditional. And I know that's nearly identical concepts, but there is a slight difference.
that
I just like the ability to articulate it right now.
that God had ordained that government, and that a driver's license was a valid exercise of legislative authority, then I think you need to have that driver's license. But if you if you personally went and you saw your deacons at your church, you went to pick up your hat you forgot on a Monday morning, and you saw the deacons sitting there laughing in the back room, and they were taking all the money that came in it, and they were giving it to the Church of Satan, saying, those dumb Christians. What would you do? Would you say, well, God put those elders in there, and I just have to follow them, and I gave it in good faith, so,
Instead, give your money to the Church of Yamato, where I will spend it on Mexican beer, the cheapest of all beers. No, I don't know. There's an Aquatine reference for you.
God's going to bless me. Well, once you had knowledge of the corruption that was going on there, you need to, tell the other people in the church what the deacons are doing with your money. And now, if next Sunday you didn't tell everyone, you come in and you continue giving that money, knowing that it's being used for satanic purposes, I don't believe God would bless that offering at that point in time.
At that point, you're liable.
So, if people have discovered exactly what the alleged government has done to us, and they are exercising their liberties, and...
Oh, there we go. Now the claim that the government isn't even the government. They're letting the mask slip. The facade is collapsing. They're not trying to keep it up anymore.
They are doing so at a great risk of being thrown in jail and things like that. I would not be ridiculing them. I would not be judging them. But like I say, we need to study so we will know how to properly apply Scripture.
Sure. Two movies that, I don't go off on 2 more hour rabbit trail here, we won't do that, but if people watch the Wizard of Oz,
Yes.
the Yellow Brick Road,
That's amazing because that's all full of symbolism. You know?
they spelled out the whole plan. The Yellow Brick Road is the money. You follow the money trail.
Yes.
And the straw man has no brain.
And that came out like in 1938. The U.S. was bankrupted in 1933. You know, bankruptcy is like a legal proceeding, and Dorothy was told if she didn't hand over that dog Toto, right, and this lawsuit was going to be filed, it was going to take the whole.
Oh yes, you're ignoring that the books are older than the films, you dumb fucks. You just drawing connections. And see, this is what I was talking about earlier. My brain is wired to create these exact kind of connections. 100% it is. I totally see where they're getting this from and where they're going. I could see myself thinking that. But I know it's a load of shit. But it would be interesting. I think that's why I want so desperately to get these random story ideas I have out there, is that some of the concepts I've come up with I think are very, very interesting and maybe interesting to others because my brain is wired to create these kinds of connections. But again, thankfully, I'm not crazy enough to fall down the conspiracy rabbit trail. Unlike some people. Exhibit A and B on screen before you.
Farm, and you know, then when she woke up, we're not in Kansas anymore. Well, hello, state of Kansas. In Kansas, you know, there was a fiction, right? So she was now in this fictional.
Went from the reality to the fiction across that mirror.
God, this is just insane. And the Wizard. WWYZZARD.com. Wow, that's 2 Aqua Teen references in one. Impressive. Most impressive.
The Wizard's amazing. They
And Laura, I just saw your message. I will let you know.
get to the end. They're looking for this great Oz, and all of a sudden, they find out who he really is.
The little man behind the curtain.
Tiny little, yeah.
There
ain't no attention to that little man beyond the curtain, right?
And you know, I just had to mimic that because that came out way too loud. You know, what's funny is it's the analogy works for them, though, the comparison, because the man behind the curtain is the preacher. The preacher is the God. And the people go to the church for that preacher because the preacher happens to be telling them what they already think and agree with for the most part. And they've decided matches their idea personally of the deity. And because this person speaks on their behalf, there goes the money. So the money trail, the yellow brick road leading to Oz leads to the church. The money goes to the church. See how someone can do this, Kent? See how someone can do this, Mr. Darcy? And yes, I'm going to say Darcy, not Darcy. You know why? Because of Married with Children.
Right. And it's just like what's talked about in Scripture here in Isaiah 14. And where you start reading the fall of Lucifer, and it talks about, here at verse 16, it says, "They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, is this the man that..."
Christians, ancient master of the total ass pull. And here we go, them talking shit about that there Satan.
Made the earth to...
Man, Satan gonna be ripped as fuck, man. He gonna be coming at y'all Arnold Schwarzenegger-like. Gonna be like fucking Fabio, man, in his prime. Gonna come up and it's like straight guys gonna be gay for Satan.
Tremble, that did shake the kingdoms, that made the...
Shit, that should be a shirt. Straight guys gonna be gay for Satan.
World as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners.
This is the guy who did it.
Is this the great wizard?
Satan's going to be a little guy. We're all going to...
Holy fuck, the wizard site was real? I didn't know. I'll have to check out the archive on that, if it is archived. It's like BillyWitchDoctor.com being Zombocom.
See Jesus just toss him into hell for 1,000 years.
It's amazing, you know.
Yeah.
And it's now I look at him completely different, and not as a
And yeah, me just naming everything we could be watching that's more entertaining than Kent.
powerful guy is this tiny little dweeb that you could probably flick out of your life, but the only thing he's got going for himself is deception.
Yeah.
And he appears to be very powerful. He appears to, and it is an incredible deception.
Yeah, which is exactly what The Wizard of Oz was.
Exactly.
The other movie is The Matrix. Now, these are heathen movies.
Right.
Put out.
All right, so this tells us that this takes place after 1999. That this was filmed actually post 99, 2000. Matrix release date was March 31st, 1999.
And some bad language and all this kind of stuff.
Wow, so The Matrix was released when I was still in 8th grade. That's fucking with my head. Huh.
But the concept they're getting across is the same thing about the two different worlds.
Yes.
Actually, I think that was damn near the same time of DDR third mix release date. Oh no, that was October 30th, 1999. So that would have been second mix's time span. My bad.
That's right. Now, you know, it's amazing. A lot of people don't understand why we teach art to children in school and why schools have always had art in there. And that's very simply because art, you look at art and you see a cross-section of where your society is at that point in time. If you look at art from the 16th century or look at art during...
Okay, He-Man era Dolph Lundgren. Dolph Lundgren. That works too. I always say Lundgren.
The Dark Ages. You know, there wasn't a lot of art going on then. But then you look at the Renaissance and all this stuff, and you can get a good cross-section. Kevorkian, in his paintings, you know, he's got pictures of guys just clawing and scraping down into like this pit, fighting for their life. And you look at his paintings and you can tell what he's like, right? And
really, you can tell what somebody's like from their paintings. Look at old Dolphy Boy's paintings, which I will be very clear and unashamed of this. I think that Adolf Hitler was a great artist. I really do. I like his work. And it's a shame that he turned into the fucking nutcase he did. Because had he been able to pursue an art career and not gotten into politics, he probably wouldn't be remembered at all, quite honestly. But I think the world obviously would have been a better place, and it would be interesting to have seen more works from him. I can separate the art from the future actions of the artist. The man who painted those couple of versions of castles and painted his home area in Austria is not the same man who did what he did through the 30s and 40s, what he led. Just want to stress that since they brought up artists and what it says about the people. Because if you looked at his art and judged the person based on the art, you would not realize, if you didn't know, that those were the paintings of Adolf Hitler.
The same thing with art. You know, movies are just another, you know, form of art. And you look at a movie and you can basically see where your society is by looking at that art. And as our society's gone down the tubes, you can see that depicted in the movies of that day. And same thing with Wizard of Oz. You know, earlier I was talking about notice and grace, and I think this is one way that we are given notice what's happened to us. It's interesting, in the Wizard of Oz, that was first written in a book called The Emerald City, and Dorothy's slippers were silver. But when they made the movie, they switched it to ruby because they...
Oh, so now you acknowledge the book.
Figured that with so much symbolism, people would have easily realized what had happened to them going through the Great Depression.
They took their silver away.
Exactly. So...
No, I'm pretty sure it was a matter of it being a color film, which was a revolution at the time. Still an uncommon sight, and it was one of the first really big ones out there. If not the first big one. the ruby would have shown up better. You want as much vivid imagery as possible, and that's why Wizard of Oz looks the way it does. In addition to the film processes of the time to generate the colors.
They changed it from silver slippers to ruby slippers, and it was the silver slippers following the golden road back, and that was how Dorothy could actually get from down here, the fictional state, back up to the real Kansas, follow the gold, find out what the bankers did to the country, and
is this like a weird reversal of Godwin's law? Now that, we're having a light little discussion in the chat about the paintings of Dolphy Boy and generally being, supportive. Because I'm glad, one, that I'm not the only one who feels that way about the man's paintings. At least some degree is otherwise supportive, positive, or wishes, definitely that he had gone that route. But that, we wish to discuss it and just be like, here's the paintings of this man. Yes, we know what he did. Here's the paintings he made well before he did that. Let us discuss them. Beautiful work. Unlike anything this asshole's created.
There was your answer. So Matrix, again, a lot of symbolism, and I can see how we've all been sucked into the fiction. The Matrix is a fiction, and we got the web, the internet, and there's a lot of symbolism going on there, and ultimately there's a question that talks about, do you want the red pill or the blue pill? If you take...
And yet, let me be very, very clear that in no way does anything involving Dolphy Boy's art school issues justify anything that went on. These were two unrelated facets of the same human being. He would have still been a racist piece of shit, but he wouldn't have been a racist piece of shit in power with a cadre of fuckwits. The Nazi Party probably could have never gotten anywhere without someone as charismatic as Dolphy Boy.
The blue pill, you won't have any knowledge of the Matrix, how it works. Or the red pill, you can go on and live your life, you have knowledge of the Matrix, and you can try and make the appropriate changes for good. I want the red pill.
Some people don't want to know.
Right.
They prefer ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. They're having a blizzard. Leave them alone, okay? Our founding fathers that started this country a couple hundred years ago, about 3% of the population supported them. The vast majority said, we don't care. We don't care if we serve King George. We don't care who it is. Just tell us who won when it's over.
Right.
Okay. And an awful lot of people are in that state today. And a very small percentage followed George Washington, and were willing to risk all. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad they did.
Yep.
Matter of fact, everybody today is glad they did. We put their faces on our money, and we, build big statues in our courthouse, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh my God, PayPal just freaking hates us today. Another $19.99, however, super chat from wonderful friend Pluto Pilot, a.k.a. Tyler West. PayPal not working for me. Hope this helps. As I've said to everyone who's donated through PayPal today, that will go a great deal towards handling January's some costs that'll come up and some stuff that's been going on. I'm over a month lapsed on one of my storage units. So that's mainly what that'll go for, to be completely honest. In fact, I need to call them tomorrow and explain the situation, because they'll work with me. Just appreciate everyone who has donated in one method or another. And I appreciate the thought, the care, the sacrifice, because it is a sacrifice. $20 isn't just chump change. $10 isn't just chump change. The generosity of my community is absolutely indescribable. It is... One, it's changed my perspective on internet communities and just community in general. Two, it's helped me learn great people are out there. You may just not find them at the right time, but when you do, it's wonderful. And then the addition that the only thing I've ever wanted to do in my life is create stuff that people enjoy. People take advantage of, services people use, entertainment for people to watch, something. And that I can do this. These are like the best moments. The only thing that sucks about them is having to watch Hovind. But if this is the common denominator that brings us together, provides you entertainment, you some kind of relief, some stress relief, some joy, then it's worth it. And this is the one time you'll hear me say a phrasing like this. Understand what it means for me to say it. If I can be effectively, I hate to say it, but blessed by the universe to have an audience that will share their hard-earned money with me to help me out on the tail end of years of struggle, then I fully acknowledge were heavily brought on by myself and exacerbated by others. It's just fucking awesome. So I mean that from the deepest part of what makes me me. That thank you to everyone. Promise I'm not going to cry. No crocodile tears. Sorry, I'm kind of laugh crying at the same rate, but I'm feeling the love. And y'all know I think you're all awesome. Just wish I was a little more able to just keep focused and interact. I'll just forget to respond to stuff sometimes. I feel terrible. So absent-minded. But y'all want to finish this video? Let's finish this video. Oh, y'all are awesome, though.
But had we been in that same situation, a small percentage, nothing's changed, 3 or 4%.
Right. Still fighting the battle.
And it amazes me how that, my ministry's all on creation, evolution, because I think evolution...
Because that's the only thing you have a script for, you dumb fuck.
The idea that man is God is really the foundation of this whole fiction.
That's right.
Yes, evolution is the idea that man is God. It's not an overarching working model that explains biological diversity on the planet. Nope, not that at all.
Right. That's right.
And so I want to reach it right at the root of everything else. And this stuff about IRS and Social Security, this is a little rabbit trail that I don't want to waste a lot of time on. But it is. I think it's part of it's part of the fiction.
That's right.
And so
Otaku, yeah, you're fine. No one has to explain to me. That's the thing. Never feel the need to justify stuff with me. You don't owe me an explanation. It's the thought alone counts. And I know what you share to your situation, Otaku. You and I are in very similar boats. So I get it. I hate that anyone has to deal with that. It's part of why I'm a socialist. Because no one should have to deal with stuff like only having 23 cents till Friday. That shouldn't be an issue. If you need a gallon of milk, what are you going to go do? You should just be able to go and get the gallon of milk. It shouldn't be an issue. I could go on. Yamato is too poor of an audience. You need to start grifting young Earth creationists to get big bucks. Yeah, totally. No, I've no joke. I've thought about making a complete AI channel that's nothing but Bible junk and just raking in the dough from that. I really have.
I think people need to be
But then putting in little Easter eggs, maybe ending with little coded messages that talk about how it's all bullshit. I don't know, something funny.
exposed to it. And should you choose to say, hey, that's a battle worth fighting, I don't have time
and code weird things in old Aramaic just on the screen just for kicks.
to fight every battle in the world. I decided I can't pick up every piece of litter on the highway. I can't fix everybody's broken car in the world. I can't fix everybody's, plugged up sink in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to do that. I just don't have time to do everybody's, okay?
Right. Yeah.
I have to pick and choose which battles are worth fighting. As in my seminar, 15 hours long, I kick a lot of dogs as I walk by.
That same fucking seminar you've been peddling for a quarter of a century, and there's his hatred of dogs. He kicks a lot of dogs.
And say, hey, by the way, if you want more, follow this trail. There's a lot more information there.
That's right.
But I'd like to encourage people, as we kick this dog about, IRS and redeeming your
And there he goes again. Man, Kent hates dogs.
straw man, et cetera, et cetera. Don't waste a lot of time, Stay with the focus of getting people saved.
That's right.
And then once you get them saved, ground them and get them going so they can go produce more fruit.
That's right.
But if we've made ourselves slaves, all through the Bible, you see where the children of Israel fell into slavery and then they begged, God, get me out of this.
Yes, that's right.
I've experienced the freedom of being in the real world instead of the fictional world.
Yeah, right.
I believe I'm pretty well out, and it's wonderful.
Yes, it is.
And I'll take the red pill, too. I'd like to know. Some people don't want to know. some people say,
What's even worse, after people know and that they're aware that there's a decision to make, then they say, "Give me the blue."
sure, and I can't help those people.
That's right.
There's nothing you can do for them. If
That's
you want
right.
the blue pill, just take it, But some people say, as far as the future, they don't want to study prophecy and what's coming with the mark of the beast and the world, everybody being killed, and they don't want to know all that. Well, I think I'd rather know.
Me too.
I'd rather walk in with my eyes wide open, knowing, hey, you're about to be shot.
Yes.
Well, okay.
Yeah, except that's not how things are.
Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, they all faced their trials. Jesus grew up under Roman
Hey, he was just talking about those clowns.
control. All the disciples did. Their whole life under Roman oppression, under the thumb. Joseph sold to slavery, to be down to Pharaoh. And
Yeah, sold slavery to Hovind. Also, Pharaoh.
children of Israel lived under slavery. You can live for God under any situation.
That's right.
It's a little easier under some than others, and I'd rather not be, stretched on the rack and tortured and have my skin ripped off and all this kind of stuff. But it's happened,
Yes, it has.
and it's going to happen again.
And
it's
they
gonna
have a
get
great
worse.
reward in heaven.
Sure. And it's easy for us to sit here, and say that when we're not in pain.
That's right.
But it's happened all across the country. People say, we're going to be out of here before the tribulation. Well, I'm with you. I believe Christians are going to be raptured out also. But tell that to the Chinese Christians.
That's a very good point.
They're already going through it,
Oh, but you're not going to say anything about the Uyghur genocide going on in China, are you? Muslim minority group being exterminated by ostensibly the CCP. I'm not going to say anything about that because you don't care. It only matters when Christians are being persecuted.
I mean, right now, they're being dragged out of their churches, and just for going to church, they break their ankles.
That's correct. And I believe even if we're right and we're out of here before the Great Tribulation, I think we are going to be persecuted terribly before that happens.
Yeah.
And I think as a result of that persecution, there is going to be a great revival because so many people have bought this fiction and they have this total allegiance to this fiction and they
Are you sadistic as fuck? Do you like being tortured? Become a Christian. We got all of it, including the shit we make up for ourselves. Actually, that's all we've got, but we don't let the real people know that. Real people. The rest of the world know that.
defend this fiction almost more vigorously than they will defend God.
Right.
And I think when this fiction starts killing people like what Hitler did to his citizenry, because there wasn't just Jews, there were
Hey, they lost their citizenship. By all points and purposes, that was the way the system worked. And my cat wants out of the room again. Make up your mind.
persecuted Jehovah's Witnesses terribly.
Oh, yeah.
In his political opponents, he was just merciless to. And
Oh yes, when he tortures the Jehovah's Witnesses, when he tortures them, it's something to be horrible or feel horrible about. But Hovind doesn't give a flying fuck. He'll crack jokes about Jehovah's Witnesses all he wants.
I think after the system finally starts doing that to people, people are going to get their eyes off of the system and look to God. And I think we're going to see that great revival. But I think the catalyst thing that's going to make it happen is this total persecution. And then after the revival, I think that's when you're going to see the rapture.
Unless the trap is so carefully laid this time, there have been conspiracies all through history, for one world government. But this time, with computers, and the trap is so carefully laid, this is going to be difficult, if not impossible, to.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to reach that point where you got to decide: are you going to stand, or are you going to bow and kiss the dirt?
That's it.
And
But isn't bowing and kneeling and all that stuff what people will do to your deity? So it's funny how it's good in one context but not the other.
it's a fascinating study, and I certainly, John, appreciate your time. Have you taken all your time to explain this? And I would like to see people know more about this, with the caution: don't spend the next 30 years doing this and forget winning souls. That's what we're here for.
Because that can just totally suck you into the point that all you're doing, you're
I could spend the next 30 years doing crack, but I ain't got that kind of money. I have no intentions of doing crack.
you're reading volumes and volumes of man's law, and you're forgetting all about Scripture.
Forget God's law. Don't
Be
do that.
aware to what's going on, so you can see it. Because I have a much more
God's law says you're both false prophets and that I should stone you. Because I'm the real prophet here. below the prophet of Zod, but they retired, so.
Appreciation for the Scripture, and I think I'm a lot closer to seeing things 2020, right? Knowing what's going on in the Satan's fictional world and how those two are going hand in glove with what the Bible's talking about.
Sure.
Is Satan's fictional world a corporate fiction?
Well, amen. Yep, let's not get distracted. It's so easy on every topip. We're distracted with a basketball or distracted with a, And I've got some major Christian ministers.
And there goes Hovind Holt. Kent Hovind railing about sports. He hates sports, but he played tennis. I got a real good arm.
Ministries that used to be close friends of mine that have blackballed me and ostracized me because I've discovered there's a mirror here and I'm seeing both sides and say, wait a minute now, I think I'm going to be accountable to God.
That's right.
And because I do not have a 501c3 corporation, I do not.
You do now.
Fill out any income tax forms.
I'm going to presume you do now. I've seen some tax documents from DAL. For what it's worth, I've never seen personal documents because it's none of my business.
They think, oh, Hovind's a tax. I'm not a tax radical. I'm not rebelling.
Yes, you are.
That's right.
I'm trying very hard to obey the law.
See, this right here, this idea that, well, the people misinterpret things. The law that people think is not actually the law, so I'm totally in the right and everyone else is in the wrong. No, you're just a protester. You just added in extra steps for plausible deniability. A presumption of plausible deniability that doesn't work at all.
Exactly.
The real law, the whole law. I'm trying awfully hard. And at the same time, I don't want to get distracted on this.
The real law, the whole law, nothing but the law, so help you, Bob.
It's amazing. My 15-hour seminar has about an 8-second statement that says, when I mention how evolution...
We'll do crack on stream for $350. $350. Yeah, right. I don't even know where I'd get any. Excuse me, sir. Do you know where I can get some crack? Head to downtown Memphis. I get shot just for asking. It's like he's a fucking narc. Oh, fuck. Actually, if I went out to Millington, probably. Here's an idea. No, that's not an idea. Oh, fuck. Yeah, it really is just a circle jerk.
Ties in with communism, and Karl Marx was anti-God in everything he did, and he invented the graduated income tax system that we have here.
Right.
Citation needed. That's something I've been legitimately wanting to look into because he starts off another soft-sit bullshit speech with talking about that. And I've read the Communist Manifesto. It's not how that works.
And all I say is, by the way, Karl Marx invented the income tax, and it's voluntary. And I go right on with my seminar. That one little...
Everything's voluntary. But then what happens after you volunteer not to obey the laws or to disobey the laws is its own problem.
8-second statement has brought me who knows how many thousands of phone calls. So we've got a letter explaining, why I say that. And that's what I want to have this video for. If somebody wants more information, maybe this will help explain. It is voluntary. Unless you're still down here.
Yep, like tithing is voluntary. Going to church is voluntary. Acknowledging there's a stupid sky daddy up there who gives a fuck where you stick your dick is voluntary. Because, if you actually pay attention and realize I say acknowledging as if there is, because there isn't, so slip of the tongue there. Don't read too deep into that. I know Hovindites will if they ever were to get this far in the video, but they won't, so meh. Anyway. The idea that you can just pick and choose what to and not to obey, what is and isn't actuality, is just a constant thing with these people. And it's just really fucking funny how this shows the childishness of what the way they actually think, but they masquerade it with the theological construct. But it's the same kind of childish thinking. I just do what I want to do. What I want to do happens to be what God wants to do. Because they know anything they do that's wrong, they're forgiven for. So their own self-punishment system there's a remediation on that. It's ridiculous.
That's right.
If you haven't redeemed your straw man, well then you better do what they say, right?
That's it. And it's amazing if people would just read his 10 planks of communism.
Right.
Folks, we have a communistic government.
We're
That's what we have.
No, we fucking don't, you fucking retards. Jesus fucking Christ. Y'all are so goddamn stupid. Oh my fucking God. Yep, and Kent Hovind is the best Muslim on earth, and I'm a strong, independent black woman that don't need no man. Those statements are equally true.
Communistic right now.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Here's communism, a brief statement of communism. Satan against God.
Y'all are so goddamn stupid. If it's possible to have negative knowledge about a subject, there you go. Workers unite, motherfucker.
Right? I just got back from Chicago, and I visited some friends up there. And there was a young guy who recently came to the Lord, and one of his professors, is a sworn communist. And he tells them that pure communism is the ideal form of governance.
Sure as fuck is, baby.
But what they're telling them now is, what they had in Russia, that wasn't pure communism.
No, it wasn't. The Soviet Union was a socialist nation trying to live up to the ideals of communism, trying to work their way to it. That is the nature of the socialist struggle, is working towards properly applied communism, which can only be applied properly to be communism. Otherwise, it's a failed attempt. And sadly, the Soviet Union was never able to get there because it was perpetually in a war with itself. It never got through the paranoia stages from the early days of its founding, as I've discussed before at moderate length in a previous stream. The Soviet Union had several problems that prevented it from maturing the way it should have. And we can learn from those mistakes, because they paved the way for a lot of progress and taught us a lot of what not to do, especially in the standpoint of internal corruption. But that's an inevitability with a lot of systems and has to be fought from the get-go. But you can never tell when a rogue element like Stalin's going to come in. And for as many benefits as he provided to the Soviet Union, there were many, 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 many more problems generated, because he was a particular kind of person. Love, though, that all this falls back into communism bad, as if this is still the fucking 80s. Hey, guys, Reagan's dead in a couple of years from when you made this. Right? It's not Ivan Drago versus Rocky Balboa anymore. All right? It's over. You guys won. Everything's gone to shit since then. Congratulations. You proved the wrong side won the Cold War. I don't really think that per se, but in a way I do. It's more about the way the Cold War ended was the problem. And that it ended was the problem. Because I think the world was actually far more stable under the Cold War than it is now, and has been. And especially post 9/11, we saw the side effect of not having that kind of regulation, that kind of stress on a lot of the world. But I digress.
Right? Because we know that was a failure. So now what do they have to tell them? They got to lie to them and say, well, that wasn't pure communism.
Right.
Because it definitionally wasn't. Communism would not collapse functionally. Socialist systems are able to collapse because they are in the process. They are in the growth phase. This is fundamental. This is definitional.
Okay. Here's basically why I say it's Satan against God. A lot of people have no idea of what the word trespass really means. Okay? And before you can have a trespass, you have to first establish a right. Okay? After I've established a right, like to life from God, gave me life, you trespass and you take that life away from me, you didn't have the right to that life. I did. God gave it to me. So you first have to establish a right.
No, look, Hovind looked at the screen like, no, your mommy and daddy did. See, Mr. Ponytail, when a mommy Hovind and a daddy Hovind love each other very much, they move the beds together, and then somewhere under the sheet, someone does something, and then there's babies. Yeah.
In Karl Marx's first plank of communism is abolition of all private property.
Right.
Well,
Yes, and what is private property? It is not personal property. It is private enterprise. The means of production belong to the people.
now, where did he get the authority to do that? You see, God gave us that right. In what the first plank of communism is all about is rebelling against God in saying that, God, you don't have the authority to give people private property rights. That's what it is. And we can go through each one of those planks of communism.
Wait, when did I say that? When did I say that? I did not say anything of the sort.
Communism and show you where it is very venomous anti-God.
Anti-God, all the way through.
The whole thing.
And that's all I'm trying to get across. I would have to say, I'm not sorry that I mentioned in my seminar about the IRS. I am aware of the fact that there's a great learning curve to bring the average American who's down here,
Right.
who knows nothing about any of this. There's a tremendous learning curve to bring him up to speed where it's all of a sudden, wow, now I
Oh
understand.
yeah, let's not get started on Khrushchev undoing things that were done right by Stalin. That's why he got fucking ousted. And the Soviet Union wasn't easy street for its leaders either.
Right.
And the people
Brezhnev came in and those eyebrows, baby.
who are still down here might look at somebody who's got his freedom and say, well, what's wrong with him anyway?
Right.
You know, there's nothing
I
wrong.
mean, the process of power in the Soviet Union through the Brezhnev era consisted of Leonid Brezhnev, and then his eyebrows, and then the rest of the Politburo, and the individual Soviets. Brezhnev did have the serious problem of beginning the stagnation through the 70s that led into the need for the reforms of the 80s that were way too much, way too quick. Had Gorbachev-era reforms started in the 70s, Soviet Union likely would have evolved and continued. But it was way too much, way too quick. And yes, I am of the opinion that financially, and definitely reputationally, globally, the Chernobyl disaster was certainly a major factor in killing the Soviet Union as quickly as it did. In that, resources were tied up that would have been useful elsewhere. And, again, the goodwill around the world. What they had left anyway. But that's its own complicated thing that I wish to do personal deep dives into and then maybe write a piece on down the line. I'm planning in 2026 to get back to a lot more blogging.
I'm trying to obey God,
That's it.
So, but I sure have to fight against the tendency to waste a lot of time and get distracted with that, and I appreciate people like you that study this and understand it and are willing to help.
Yeah, same. The Reagan era was weird, but you know what? It was because we were in an economic boom partly because the Soviet Union was floundering as it did. We had the chance to succeed. And that bubble burst through the 90s. The 80s would have been an interesting time to be an actual adult through, but instead I was only around for half of them. And the retellings I've heard from people I know aren't so great, so yeah.
Help people, you got some questions.
As in the retellings suck, not the events themselves. They can't articulate the way things were very well.
And there are many other people who want to help. I want to help introduce them to the subject, and then I want to leave it and go on and do something else. Okay.
Right.
I want to win souls and get people converted over from believing in evolution, because I think it's the foundation. So we're headed for trouble in this country, in the world. It's coming fast, and everybody's sound asleep. Just going to run right over them, and they're not even going to know what happened.
Sad.
And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
It is a very good time to call John Darcy.
Final thoughts, things we did not cover, and things you want to get on here real quick?
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up there.
Okay. Get the Citizens Rule Book, study the Constitution, but don't let that be a distraction from studying God's Word and God's law. That's the basis of all truth. And always keep in mind the love of money is the root of all evil.
So give your money to Hovind. I'm pulling out 9,500 randomly. I probably pulled out 9,500 the very day this shit was filmed. Like, I'm not kidding. The day this was filmed could actually have been one of the days listed in the criminal complaint against Hovind, because those were all in the 2000, 2001 range. They were right around this time.
Not the lack of money, which some people think.
Yes.
The love of money.
Love of money.
Nothing wrong with money, and it's a necessary. But we don't have any money. We have a Federal Reserve note, which is a whole other can of worms that can go for 6 hours. But if you read those books that you mentioned, The Creature from Jekyll Island, and the one about the Rockefeller, that was, remember the title to that one? I've got the books, I've read them, but
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
a host of books. We'll put the names and addresses up on the screen. If you want to get off into this study, if I can caution you, keep serving God. Nothing else is going to matter. That's what's
right.
most important. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, John.
Well, there we go. That's done. I can't believe we watched the whole thing. Well, that was incredibly ridiculous. I'm glad we had fun. We did certainly raise some shekels. I can't complain. I appreciate every last one of you. I'm glad we had fun. It was a pretty wild little stream there. And yeah, money is just a tool. Just like Hovind, just a tool. Don't worry, Kent. Made sure everyone in Cadiz community has the Citizen Rulebook. For Kent's dissertation, you know that Satan invented evolution, which led to the Soviet Union. Oh, of course. Of course. How could I forget? Still need to do the stream on Hovind's dissertation sometime. That's actually how I found Planet Peterson. He was doing a reading of Hovind's thing, and he had AI voice do it. So I'm probably going to go a similar route with it, so it's going to be kind of a copy of that. But yeah. These two cretins clearly couldn't do material analysis of a trash can. Nope. God done did it. But all right. Wow. I am tired. I'm going to figure out the last of this little situation. Whatever happens, happens. So I'll say much love to everyone. Y'all are awesome. Hope you enjoyed the stream. It was a bit of a wild one, but that's how we do things sometimes. Much love. And I'll catch everyone next time. In fact, actually, it's funny. Hovind should be live right now, or finishing up his live